This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the light. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. It's time to put on...
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to a long-awaited, long-overdue, most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Muppetational Podcast. And I am your host, Miranda. Of course, as always, I do not do this alone because, as I said last podcast, I would be awkward. I don't think anybody would appreciate it. So, I do it with the king over here of Place to Be, Mr. Double A himself. Andy, how are you doing?
Miranda, how are you? It has been far too long.
It has been a while.
For you and I to do anything, just the two of us. I mean, we have done the Disney pod over the last few months with Steve, but this is our show. This is a Mirandy. All right,
Mirandy, I like that.
Yeah, this is a Mirandy production, and I miss doing Mirandy productions, especially talking about something that we both love, which is Muppets. Yeah, and I am so happy to be back here with you. I'm hoping that we get back on course here. We get the the Electric Mayhem bus back on the road. And we get through this first season because we're looking at the finish line for this first season, so we could, do our first Muppet movie watch. Although we have done a Muppet special, we did one about a little over a year ago.
We've done two, actually.
Yeah, we have. We did Muppet Christmas Carol, and we did Muppet Haunted Mansion.
We sure did.
Those were so much fun.
Muppet Haunted Mansion was amazing, and if you haven't seen it, now is the perfect time for it. And I actually got reminded of it today because it has been a while since we were able to record, so I went back and watched these 4 episodes again because I felt like I just needed to make sure I remembered everything. If you guys don't remember our format, we watch 4 of the Muppet shows from the original Muppet Show at a time. We break them down for you, talk about our favorite parts, explain what happens, give you some fun facts. And so we're doing 4 per podcast episode. When we get to the end, we are going to go to the first movie. And that will be brought to you over on Stream Lounge, where you can see our faces. You may not want to see our faces, but it's just a fun experience. All around, you can chat with us in the little, live chat that happens. And if it's not available, you can come back later and it will be in podcast format. But so that's what we're doing. We're trying to get through these. We apologize for the 8-month hiatus, but as I say sometimes, life, right? This is not our job. Like, this is not our daily profession. We have other jobs, and we also live 7 hours.
Yeah, 6-7 hours
apart. Yeah,
it's not easy, but yes, the beauty about Stream Lounge is that they take all the guesswork out for us. We do live watch podcasts all the time. I do Laugh in Theater a lot, and you have Piece of the Action's also on here, and then you have Freak Out Drive-In, you have Popcorn Chicken Salad, and a lot of times we have to line it up and we watch it. They do it where you could actually watch the movie at the same time with us, and it does actually live on Stream Lounge. So if we appreciate you if when we do the Muppet movie live watch, if you download it and listen to it along with the movie playing, but you can always go on Stream Lounge and watch the basically the repeat, the recast of us doing it live. Yep. So you can't actively participate. Well, similar to a pod, you can't actively participate in it, but
when we're on Stream Lounge Live, you can actively participate. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can subscribe to each individual person on Stream Lounge, because like Andy does things without me, and then for the first time, I have something coming up without you. I'm going to do it with Bianca, my co-host from Bells with Books. And you can subscribe to like an individual person on Stream Lounge. It's totally free. It doesn't cost anything. And it will alert you like when they're going live or that they are going live. So you can follow along that person if you really like their hosting abilities or the movie they're going to watch. There's literally something for everybody over there.
It is. So if you do go to Stream Lounge, look up Mom's a Nerd, Blockbuster Rewatch, and Laugh in Theater, and follow all of them. You'll know whenever Miranda and I do anything on Stream Lounge, you'll get alerted. Yep.
I try to also post it on my Instagram, but sometimes I'm really bad at doing that. And then I'm like, we'll be in the middle of like starting, and Andy will see me looking down at my phone, and I'm like, I'm just posting on Instagram that we're here. Like, I'm not ignoring you.
Oh no, there's like an option to like, put something on Twitter too. But I'm like, I hardly ever.
I'm so bad at Twitter.
And on Instagram, I just follow. I don't post anything on Instagram.
I got called out the other day. I'll tell you this really quickly. So I got called out the other day because I'm really bad at Twitter. I actually really love Instagram, and I am really beginning to enjoy TikTok. I have strong opinions on TikTok, but I now, after using it for some time, it basically, you get videos of what you like react to. So if you dance to half naked people, if you react to those, that's what you're going to get. Right? So at first, that's what it used to, and originally, I'll be honest, that's what it used to be. Book talk was not a thing. None of the cooking talk was not a thing, but there's like avenues for everybody now, so it's fantastic. But I was saying to a neighbor of ours who is much younger than I was like, I just can't get Twitter, and I got called. They were like, "Okay, boomer," and I'm like, I'm not a boomer, but okay, thanks. And then Bianca called me out the other day as well. She sent me a TikTok telling me how old the first Twilight book was. And I messaged her back and told her I did not appreciate being called out like that. So, there's that. So yes, I show my age on TikTok. I'm not very good at it. It's too much too fast, and maybe it's the ADHD in me, but like I'll go to respond to something and it's gone. I'm like, where'd it go?
Yeah, my kids send me TikToks and things like that. And I'm like, okay, that's cool.
I do randomly send you TikToks. I do.
Yes, you do.
They're funny. Mm-hmm. They're really funny. I actually sent you a Muppets one the other day. So.
Well, that's when I go on TikTok too, though. I don't always go on TikTok.
There are some great Muppet TikToks. They're fantastic. Sesame Street has a TikTok. Elmo has a TikTok. I highly encourage you follow them. I know they're not Muppets from the Muppet Show, but they are from the mind of Jim Henson. So
I consider them Muppets.
Yeah, they are Muppets. They are not the Muppets, though, if that makes I think there's a difference. But with the Muppets, we are actually on episode 117, which is season 1, episode 17. And I noticed something today that I actually texted you about. If you are not watching these on Disney Plus, say you have other avenues of watching them, I will say your app may not put them in correct order. Because 117 should be Ben Vereen, according to the wiki and according to Disney Plus. And it was telling me that was episode 12. And Andy was like,
no, which ones are we doing? I
was like, we're doing 12 through this. And he's like, no, we're on 17. I was like, oops.
And then I'm like, let me just send her the names that were of the guest stars to make sure that we're on the same page.
So the production for this episode comes to us from October 4th through the 7th of 1967. It premiered first in the UK, which we have talked about several times, how this premiered in the UK before it appeared in America. So this premiered in November of 1967 in the UK and January of 1977 in the United States. Our guest star this week is Ben Vereen. And if you guys don't remember, Andy and I were playing a game that I accidentally created. And we were there was 2 parts to it. One was, does Miranda know who they are? And the other part was, are they still alive? Because sadly, some of these amazing artists are no longer with us due to
it was 40-something years ago that these were.
Right. It was a long time ago. Yeah. So, I mean, but it's still sad because some people, it's just, you don't stop and realize just how long ago that is. Yeah. So, Ben Vereen. Did you know who Ben Vereen was?
Yes, I knew who Ben Vereen was.
I didn't remember who he was, but once I saw his face, I was like, I know him, but I didn't know how I knew him.
He for me as a kid, he was like one of those guest stars because he's a song and dance man.
Yes, he is.
A Broadway guy, and he was a guest star
on a lot of things,
like Love Boat or other shows like that. Also, now this came after this appearance, but I remember him most as being Webster's uncle on the show Webster.
Yes, and it looks like he was also in Roots.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he's been in some big name things, and apparently he is still acting today.
Yeah.
He will be appearing in Midas, the Midas Touch as Midas.
Oh.
So that's really cool. I don't know about that, but he is still acting today, and it looks like 75 years old. So he is still with us. Yeah, he is still with us. That's fantastic. It says he gained his prominence for his performances in the original Broadway productions of the musicals Jesus Christ Superstar, which he received a Tony Award for.
There you go.
So he was years active, or 1965 to present. He has 5 children, and is currently still married. Oh, it looks like he unfortunately either lost his spouse or they were divorced. So very sorry to him either way. But yeah, he's still active. That's really cool. So I did know him, and he is still alive. So that's fantastic.
There you go.
So go check him out and all the things. And today he gets to join Fozzie, who gets stuck in a magician's trick cabinet. The cabinet is dragged on stage so he can perform his act. And at the end of the act, 2 pig stagehands tip the box over so he can take a bow, which I thought was hysterical. Crazy Harry makes frequent prominent appearances in this show, which means also frequent explosions that poor Ben is usually at the other end of.
I love the run-ins by Crazy Harry throughout the show.
Oh, it was pretty fantastic. He ends up being the one that kind of saves Fozzie from the day. So like that's the short and quick of it, because they keep saying like this cabinet was brought in advance, that the next week's visitor is going to be this magician, and Kermit tries to warn Fozzie, like, don't go in there, and he's like, no, it's fine, and he's like, no, I was telling you don't go in there because the only way to open it is by this magician. And he's in Toledo right now. Like, I can't just call him. So Crazy Harry ends up saving the day after blowing everything to smithereens all episode long, because he blew the cage up so that Fozzie could escape.
A happy accident, so to speak.
Exactly. We get some various songs and sketches in this. Of course, we always open with the Muppet theme song. And this time, the green Frackle whacks Gonzo with his own mallet instead of Gonzo getting anything. We've talked about the Frackles before. They're just kind of a random creation that have all different looks. So we then get a 2-headed singer. We've seen him before, but they do jump, shout, boogie, while some whatnots jump, shout, and knock themselves out midway through the song. Our Ben Vereen appears, and he does his little song and dance man. As you said, he's the song and dance man, so you're going to get a lot of that. This
was a really nice, high-energy start to this.
It was, actually.
It really it was fun, and it's, the opening number is usually odd and weird, and this was odd and weird to a point, but maybe not as much as a lot of the ones we've seen.
Oh, before. Yeah, no, there's been some that you and I, if you go back and listen to other episodes, we commented on them, like, I'm thinking of, I can't think of the lady's name right now, but the one that's like one of the weirdest and odd ones. It's one of the first ones we did. She's dancing with that big Muppet where he's like a rag doll. Like, there's some weird ones.
Well, they become a monster, like, transforming and from like a beautiful woman to a monster. I remember that one. Yeah, it usually starts off like the Muppets are weird. They have an interesting sense of humor. And that it kind of just sets the tone for the whole episode.
And it toes a line, right? Because we had read once that initially he wanted the Muppets to be way more adult.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he didn't go there. We had a whole conversation about that, I think, in episode 1, episode 2. You can go back and listen to. Miranda doesn't like overtly adult Muppets or cartoons, and Andy doesn't like the big Muppets that are like human.
Well, mixture of human and Muppet parts.
Yeah, you don't deal with those very well. So we have strong nose.
I get past the Swedish Chef having human hands. I can power through that, but usually when they're it just kind of
like the big dancing thing I was just talking about a minute ago. That was a no for you.
No, it was not. It was like it's like all like human, and then the head and the hands are Muppet. No, Andy don't like that.
But you do like Statler and Waldorf.
I do love Statler and Waldorf. I do.
But they're like tiny little old men, so it's different.
I'm actually looking at my Statler and Waldorf figures right now. And on either side of them is Sam the Eagle and the Swedish Chef. And then I have a whole other mess. I actually do have a Crazy Harry figure as well.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, Crazy Harry. Well, not easy. I never completed the whole Muppet collection back when I was doing my figure hunting, but I do have a good selection.
That's cool. Well, Statler and Waldorf actually show up now in conjunction with Crazy Harry because they actually claim that the show's starting to grab him, right? He actually says that phrase, like, it's starting to grab me. And that's when some fuzzy hands grab him and drag him under his seat. And then we get to Fozzie Bear, and that's the whole backstage, the magician's box. This is when he gets tossed in there. And Marvel can't help because he's in Toledo again. Mm-hmm. Kermit tries to introduce Ben's next number, but Crazy Harry sets off 2 explosions in the balcony and presents him with a short fuse. Yes. Which I thought was really funny. Every time they say something, that's how Crazy Harry comes about. They're like, he has a short fuse, or it's going to be an explosion of a, like,
somebody say
using
explosion?
words to, right. They're using words to incite, like, how amazing it is, and it backfires. Of course, you can't say anything like that with Crazy Harry. But then we get Ben, who sings Mr. Cellophane and plays kind of an unseen character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was neat. Mr. Cellophane, the only credit it really has is being sung, because, some of these songs appear other places. When I checked this one, it was only ever sung by Ben Vereen on the Muppet Show. That was it. It was catchy. It was different.
It was.
Yeah. So we go back to Kermit and Fozzie, and Kermit is trying to break him out with a hammer. It's not working. I mean, it's a magician's cabinet. Did we think it was going to work? Fozzie swears he's ruined the show. His show is now ruined because he's going to have to cancel his act, and Kermit offers an alternate. How about, replace Fozzie? And Fozzie, as we know in the past, does not take that well. Like, no. He thought he'd been replaced before and was not okay with that.
Fozzie's very paranoid and, thinks he's very sensitive about it.
He is. But in sort of a way, I get it, because Statler and Waldorf talk so much crap to him all the time. Mm-hmm. That has to get to your head after a while. It's like if you constantly hear you're a crap person, then you're going to start thinking that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one of my favorite segments then comes around, the Muppet News Flash Newsman.
Yes.
And I love Muppet News. Muppet News, and then we're going to get another one, I think, next episode. I can't remember. Maybe in a minute. I love Muppet News, and I love the Doctor, when Ralph is the Doctor.
Of Dr. What the hell is his name? The Veterinarian's Hospital.
Yes,
Dr.
Veterinarian's
Bob.
Hospital. Yes. And then my absolute favorite, I'm trying to remember if we've even gotten to it yet, if it's even happened, is Pigs in Space.
No, we have not gotten to Pigs in Space yet.
Yeah, so we'll get there eventually.
But Miranda's gonna be all in her glory. I love Pigs in Space too.
It's my absolute favorite.
I do have a Pigs in Space set from my Muppet figures.
But one of close favorites is the Muppet News Flash, and he's reporting on Mr. Cosgrove, who tried breaking the world record in flagpole setting,
which was a thing. Like in the 50s and 60s, mostly, I think. It was if people tried to climb flagpoles. Look, there was no internet, people. They had to entertain themselves somehow, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, but, I guess, sure. I mean, the kids did they were planking a few years ago, so
yeah.
I guess I get it. I guess it was the 50s version of planking.
Or waddling, whatever they do now.
I don't even know. I miss out on a lot of that because the European kids just don't do the same fads that happen over there. So, luckily, I miss out on it. But he dies in the process of sitting on the flagpole, so his wife announces that she'll fly him at half-mast for 10 days in memorial.
I actually laughed at that out loud.
Oh, God. It's not funny, but it's funny. It's funny. We go to the dance. And there's several jokes here, but my favorite one is Janice is dancing with Zoot. Thank you. I've forgotten his name. And she's like, the Rolling Stones are here. And he's like, oh, I love them. And she's like, no, not them. And literal Rolling Stones come through the dance hall.
Yeah, The Muppets are the Muppets are like Amelia Bedelia. Do you remember Amelia Bedelia books?
Oh,
when you were
I
a kid?
do. I loved Maria
Like
Bedelia.
how literal she was. That's what a lot of the Muppet humor is
And
being literal.
I think that's why my son has always enjoyed the Muppets so much, because he's on the spectrum and he's extremely literal. When he was really little, he heard something like his actual specialist was like, "Oh my God, I'm glad you guys made it in time. It's raining like cats and dogs." And he looked at him and he goes, "Dr. Ashley, dogs and cats, if they fell out of the sky, would just all die. That can't happen. That's not what it's doing. It's just raining." And he was like, "No, Caden." He's like, it's a metaphor. And he explained it to him. So now Caden for years has been like, "You know what's raining cats and dogs?" Like now he gets it. Like he has to have them explain to him. But my child is extremely literal. And I think that's why he loves the Muppets so much.
It is. It's humor. That's why. And
it is. And he gets it.
Yeah. That's part of the beauty of the Muppets is that it's not complicated humor. It's not highbrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's not lowbrow by any sense.
No.
It's just
it's simple.
It's kind of basic comedy.
Yeah.
It's taking the obvious and making it funny.
Yeah, it's just pure and simple and does great.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the spots I really enjoyed in this show is the UK spot, which I've told you guys before if you do watch on Disney Plus. All the UK spots are actually part of the episode, and this one was when Ralph plays Furelise, which I love that. I love it so much. It's one of my favorites. I'm sure everyone is aware of this song, even if you're not a fan of the classical music. Everybody hears this and knows this. Mm-hmm. It was a Ludwig Beethoven song. Everybody, it's fantastic. And it's very well done. It's not anything extra. He's literally just playing the song, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, they do those.
Yeah.
All you do is it's a variety show.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be funny. Sometimes things can just be a nice number.
Right. He does hurt his hands on the keyboard, but it's still a wonderful, beautiful, like nobody's laughing in it. It's just a piece that's fantastic. We get our talk spot, which you and I both enjoy. This happens every episode where we sit down for a moment with the guest star. And Kermit is talking to Ben about dancing, and Ben explains that he needs to dance with great explosive power. And of course, Harry shows up. Harry hears his cue. He sets off, and poor Ben ends up in the rafters hanging from like the lights and stuff. What I also liked about this talk spot is when he's talking to Kermit about, have you ever felt like what it would lose, like how it would be if you lost your whole body? And poor Kermit does that like weird face thing where he just looks like really disturbed for a second. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you take your hand and you kind of like contort it a little bit, because a lot like the newsman did something similar when he read the punchline to the flying the husband at half mast. He did kind of like you throw your face a little bit.
Yeah.
That is Kermit does it a lot, but also it's not exclusive to Kermit. It is a lot of Muppets do have done.
I think a lot. You're right though. A lot of people. I even kind of felt like it's exclusive to him, but you're absolutely right that it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get a little Statler and Waldorf again. He said it's time for a tea break. So Statler complies by just knocking the teacup off the ledge, which, as a tea lover, I found horrible.
For shame.
You up there with the lady that put everything in the microwave and told everybody how to make British tea. Absolutely wrong. Don't get me started on her. Fozzie is still trying to convince Kermit that the show needs him. He says a Muppet Show without Fozzie Bear is like Gilbert without Sullivan, ham without cheese, polka without Hauntus. Kermit asks, "What's a polka?" And this is when Miss Piggy and George the janitor come in dancing to good old-fashioned polka music, which I thought was great. Polka without Hauntus. Oh, my God. That cracked me up. But if you'd like to hear more about Pocahontas, we do have a Disney podcast on that.
Yep, cheap plug, but yes.
Yeah, I'll take it. I am not ashamed. We do get the wonderful veterinarian's hospital, where George reluctantly visits the operating room to help his cold sweat.
I love George the janitor, although he kind of goes away because we get a new janitor, a custodian actually. I think more of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see some changes soon once we get to the second season. I mean, Miss Piggy's going to go through a change.
Janice's voice changes too, correct?
Yeah.
Because right now her voice...
Janice doesn't have the, the flower child yet, She's not there yet. She's Dr. Bob kind of thing. And
she's
Piggy's voice, we're not at Piggy's voice yet. Like Frank Oz isn't doing it. Yeah, and also her design changes slightly.
Yeah,
Piggy goes through some changes though with her hair. She does go perm or curly at one point.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to talk about Andy
freaking
out with human-sized Muppets. When we get to the Muppets Take Manhattan, which was on the other day, and I was flipping channels, when Piggy is right on the roller skates and they have a wide shot, and like Miss Piggy is huge. Holy shit! This freaked Andy out as a kid. Still does.
Oh my god. So one of the things I also love, I have several segments that they reoccurring that I think are funny, and the talking houses is one of those for me. So one house tells the other one of his uncle's fondness for the poet Edgar Guest. Do you know why, Andy?
I have no idea who Edgar Guest is.
Do you know why he has a fondness for Edgar Guest?
No.
It's a guest house.
Ah!
So we have a segment called Blackout where Ben tells Hilda he's getting a big charge from the show. Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. Which I love Hilda, by the way. She's fantastic. Yeah. I think we get a lot of her in one of our next episodes.
Yes, we do.
So it cues up Crazy Harry. So we have to take a break. So we go over to Wayne and Wanda. They need a moment. Because Crazy Harry is just blowing everybody up. So we need a moment. We go to Wayne and Wanda. And Wayne sings a line of, I'll know until another lady captures his eye, though.
Uh-oh.
Wayne and Wanda may be in trouble. And that may tick off old Sam. Sam, the eagle, is obsessed with Wayne and Wanda and their purity, like, as he says. He's like, they're just so wholesome. So.
They are.
Well... They are, until he got distracted by a pretty girl who walks across the stage, and he ends up chasing after her, making Wanda very jealous, and the number just kind of ends there. So
Wanda seems like the type you don't want to get jealous. Like, she will mess you up. I'm
afraid she'd call Crazy Harry and be like, take care of that. There's a bomb. So Hilda is backstage comforting Fozzie, but he ends up shutting the door to keep people out because now he's embarrassed. Well, now... At least before he could poke his head out of the box, right? Now he can't. So he just does his act from inside the box. And what I found hysterical is he goes, "Are you guys laughing?" And they even put his hat like up on top of the box.
Oh, poor Fozzie.
So the two pigs, as I mentioned earlier, wheel him out and help him with his bow. Of course. I really liked this segment. I don't know how you feel about it. We get another Ben moment, and Ben cheers up Droop, who he appears in the Muppets Valentine's Show and the Muppet Show. He usually appears as a very depressed character, although in some episodes of the Muppet Show, he can be seen as a singer when he joins the Frackles and a few other monsters. He appeared in 107, and he will appear again in 119. 115. So we get reoccurrings of him, and he's kind of cute. In some ways, he reminds me of Gonzo a little bit. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think it's his look. It's like a cross between Gonzo and he's got some sort of Snuffleupagus vibe going on. He really does.
Gonzo, who's going to go through a change as well. His voice changes.
Goes through a change, yeah.
And his gets more confident. It becomes more towards Gonzo the Great, actually.
Yes, which I love Gonzo the Great. So in the song, Ben cheers up Droop by singing Pure Imagination, which is fantastic. His version of Pure Imagination is just wonderful. And he ends up being surrounded by some very bizarre characters, which I think just added to the song he's singing because it's the whole point. And we come to the end of our episode, actually. Fozzie is finally freed from the box because of Crazy Harry, who begins setting off more explosions and everything. Our poor episode kind of ends because Ben's tired of getting blown up.
Well, one of the beauty things too about the Muppet Show is everybody is so different, but everybody is treated the same. Like, monsters are treated like, nicely, like by the guest stars. They have this Ben. This thing it could be scary to a child, but it looks weird. He's got a long nose and he's green and he looks some confidence issues here. And I definitely can see the Snuffleupagus hi bird in there. But yeah, that's one of the beauties about it too, is like everybody is different, and everybody though gets to be part of a musical number. Everybody gets to be part of the dance. Everybody, that's.
And they play up. You and I have talked about this before, because they've had like actors and actresses that maybe they aren't big at singing and dancing, but they play up whatever the person is. And I've also noticed we've talked about this before. There's been a few episodes where the person doesn't appear as much. And it was a big deal to be part of the Muppet Show. A lot of people would ask, actually, can we be on the Muppet Show? Like, can I be on the show? Which I think is incredible and speaks enough for itself. But sometimes you get a person appears way more in an episode, and I enjoy when you do, because to me that shows like their care for the show actually as well.
Yeah, sometimes you see people, like, I remember, like, the Candace Bergen episode, I'm like, she looks like she doesn't want to be there half the time.
Yeah, she kind of did, but we talked about this then, if you ever watch her just in general, sometimes she just comes across as a grade A, you-know-what.
Yeah, she's got RBF.
Like, I don't think she's ever going to listen to us, but if she did, like, I don't mean that offensively, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like she'd be a person, if you walked up to her in public, she'd be like, please go away. I don't know. I just do. And I could be wrong about that, but she just strikes me as that type of person.
No, but for this episode, I really enjoyed this episode, because
I did too.
One, you had a very, nice guest star who was
very into it. Like,
was very into it a lot. Very entertaining. We had a lot of Crazy Harry, which was a
lot of Crazy Harry, which is different. We don't usually get much of him.
Yeah, so we had like a running gag with Fozzie the whole time. So I really, this is probably one of my favorite episodes we've watched so far.
My favorite one is coming up in just a moment.
Okay.
But cool. I would rate this one pretty high up there. And maybe that's something we do when we finish the season, is go back and say, well, what's your top 3 and what's the least favorite? So, so we roll right into episode 118 with Miss Phyllis Diller.
I love
this
her.
Was produced October 11th through the 14th of 76. So it premiered December 5th of 76 in the UK, February 14th of 77 in the America. This is an aging wardrobe woman, Miss Hilda, that we mentioned earlier. She goes through several changes through this episode, because she's actually says that she's only 35. And she looks like she's an old woman. She's like, I'm only 35. So she does several things throughout this episode. She puts on a wig. She tries different makeup. She's just wanting herself to look younger and to gather attention. And she's spotlighted a lot in the backstage plot for this first and last time, it says. So I was bummed by that. So because I really enjoy her. Of course, Miss Phyllis Diller, born July 17th, 1917, and passed away August 20th of 2012. Did you know who she was?
Oh, yes. Phyllis Diller was huge in comedy. Even as a kid, I knew her because my dad was big into comedy, and he liked it. And she was in a lot of things. She was the bad guy on the Bugaloos, I believe. She appeared on a lot. She was like big in the talk shows like on the Tonight Show. She was the queen of self-deprecating humor. She had that and laugh.
She would do the wacky hair and clothes. She was like cackly, like you said, that like like over exaggerated just persona, and she was so great. Oh,
she's one of the greatest comedians of all time.
She's actually been in a lot of voiceover roles for children's stuff. She was in Mad Monster Party. She was the queen in Bug's Life. She was the grandmother in Jimmy Neutron. And she's actually in Family Guy. Yeah. She was Thelma Griffin in Family Guy. And she actually has a large following. She's considered a gay icon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
She
They
the
loved
first,
her. Like
yeah.
kind of like how they love like those comedians, like because she's very flamboyant and the way she dressed and was kind of crazy, and you could definitely tell where she would have like a lot of like gay friends because so accepting how she is, and back when it wasn't as accepted.
And she's been credited as an influence by big names. Joan Rivers, Roseanne Barr, Ellen DeGeneres all credit her as like a huge influence, which I think is saying something. She was actually one of the first celebrities to openly kind of champion for plastic surgery. And I think that's why the tone of this show is the way that it is, because I told you, like, that's one of the things they talk about is like having plastic surgery or getting work done, because I guess that was starting to become a thing. And she was actually recognized by the cosmetic surgery industry for her work of saying, like, if you want to have it done, have it done. Like, it's nobody else's business. Like, do you for you. She was like probably for one of the first women screaming, "You do you, boo boo." Like, she was there.
And she knew she was not glamorous. She knew, and she's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna, make myself look younger and everything. And she's like, she's like one of those, you do you. Like, I'm gonna be me.
I'm not hurting anyone. But I think that's why we get the setting of this episode, which is Hilda really struggling with how she looks at 35. And I think there's even a comment, and that's what makes it happen, is we open the show with Crazy Harry, which was really nice. Oh, excuse me. So we open the show because Crazy Harry sets off an explosion before Gonzo can actually hit his gong. And Gonzo notes that version is not so bad, which makes me wonder if Crazy Harry helped inspire Gonzo the Great in some ways.
Maybe.
Maybe. So Fozzie tries to introduce the show, claiming that he's doing so because Kermit works so hard. Kermit tells Fozzie, "You introduce the show, and I'll pull the rope." And the rope just happens to open the stage's trapdoor. So Fozzie is standing on top of it. Poor Fozzie.
Poor Fozzie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we get is it the Go-Go La-La Jubilee Band? Is that how you say it?
The country band?
Yeah, the country band, but it's like the Go-Go La-La or something. It's not the same one from before. I think some of the same people are in it.
Yeah.
But this is because it's a group of whatnots. And there's one that he kind of reappears, but they're just various whatnots. And they end up being replaced later by Lubbock Lou and his jug huggers. Blah. So right now they're just called the Go-Go La-La Jubilee Jug Band. And they do this kind of weird, we're going back to what we talked about, this weird opening where they sing this song called Mississippi Mud, as they kind of tap their feet in the mud. I don't know. I found this one strange.
Yeah, I didn't like it because I don't like feet, and it's kind of gross.
I don't like feet either.
Especially like, dirty feet. And I think it's a fine song, but I was kind of
it's not up there. And I really liked the last time we had like a jug band jubilee kind of thing, but I didn't care for this this one at least.
Yeah, it was just there for me.
Yeah. So this is when we start our backstage with Hilda. The band is leaving the stage and kind of jostling Kermit around, and he's congratulated by Scooter, who wishes, however, that they had wiped their feet. As Andy said, they were stomping around in the mud, showing their feet off. So Hilda praises the show's guest star, Miss Phyllis Diller, about how young-looking she is. And she asks Scooter if he believes that she has had her face raised. And he considers whether or not she should do the same. After all, she's 35. And Hilda looks much older. They dress her as like quintessential, like what mine and Andy's generation would call like the old school librarian.
Yeah.
With gray hair and glasses and So I thought it was really funny when she said she was 35. I was like, oh boy, I'm older than that. Ooh.
Yeah. Hilda does not look.
Yeah, poor Hilda's not doing well. So Ralph the dog and Phyllis compete over whose life is more depressing, which I thought was funny. They had this really cute thing where he's like, would you like a drink? And she's like, I don't drink with anybody. I don't drink with strangers. And it's quiet for a second. She goes, hi, I'm Phyllis. And he goes, hi, I'm Ralph. And then they order drinks. They're non-alcoholic, but it was still like, what was it? Do you remember what the drink was? But it was like something on the rocks, but it's like clearly no alcohol in it. Like
Yeah.
it was very kind of cute.
I love she says, "Do you make a habit of annoying a beautiful woman?" He goes, "Yeah, but there are none around, so I'm going to annoy you."
Yeah.
Why are you hounding me?
Right. Phyllis kind of assures Rolf that she was born a loser, but Rolf says that she just doesn't know what it's like to live life as a dog. So she responds, "Don't be so sure."
And they have a triple cream soda on the rocks.
Triple cream soda, that's what it is, yeah. So Hilda's up in her game, and she decides that it's time to become young again, and she dons just a long-haired wig. So she changes her wig, and she's positive that no one will recognize her. And of course, Kermit comes by and is like, "Hi, Hilda," and doesn't even acknowledge her new look. Like, doesn't even bring it up. And she's very distraught by this, so she goes away. And we get Muppet News Flash again. This time he reports on Miss Beverly Shepard, who is Phyllis Diller, and she's making aviation history by strapping a pair of wings to her arms and flying to Dallas, Texas. And she's from Mobile, Alabama, so they have her do this. Sorry, I'm Southern, so when they do Southern accents, I get like, oh my God. So they have her do this quintessential, like, "Oh, it was so easy," like,
"Oh,
Southern
so easy." Like
she's
me
so
trying
funny
to do a
with
Southern
it. She
accent.
actually did a pretty decent job, I won't lie. And so she talks about how she strapped these tinfoil wings to her arms. She put chicken feathers all over them, and she got on a plane and went straight to Dallas. And the poor news reporter actually face palms. Yeah.
He gets very. I noticed the Muppet Newsman gets exasperated very easily.
He does, because he's like, "I thought I had a great news story, now I look like an idiot." So we're back at the dance, which some of these don't usually repeat 2 episodes in a row like that.
Yeah.
But they are for a moment.
Mm-hmm. This one's fine. It's nothing really.
Yeah, it's nothing too fun. I mean, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Zoot's back without Janice, and he's just kind of wandering the ballroom playing the saxophone. I didn't like the joke there, though, because usually the joke is toots his own horn.
Okay.
Oh, that's the phrase, right?
Yeah, you toot your own horn, yeah.
Toot your own horn. But she says blows his own horn.
Yeah, that's not the
he's
joke.
He's playing the sax, and I get it, but I was like, that was lame. I didn't like it. Sorry, writer.
It
didn't work.
Statler and Waldorf were actually dancing with each other.
Oh, I thought that was funny. Their little bit of dancing with each other was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But the whole joke, the whole gag is Zoot and his saxophone, and I didn't find the main joke of this skit. Yeah. Sorry if you did.
Horn.
Zoot does tell him they need to get checked at the hospital because one tells the other one, "I can't eat I can't eat because of you," and the other one, "I can't sleep, I can't see straight." They're trying to be lovey, goo goo gaga, but it sounds like Zoot's like, "Oh, you might want to go to the hospital and get that checked out." That part was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do get our UK spot with a group that you enjoy. We get Dr. Teeth and Floyd Pepper, Zoot and Janice perform. Technically, it's not Electric Mayhem, but it's parts of.
Yeah.
But they
I noticed the UK spots are usually a song.
It is always a song, and I don't know why that is. And we looked up once why the UK got a spot that the States didn't, and I don't remember the facts on that.
Well,
we would have to Google through that.
Well, my guess is, as somebody who actually works in television, is that the UK and all of them have their clock for their programs is longer.
They do have less commercials.
They have less ads.
Someone, yeah, as someone
less
who watches
breaks and all that stuff. Yeah,
and that may have been the reason why. You guys, if you're new here, go back and listen to all of our other episodes, of course. But we talk about why it is in one of them, and I just can't remember that factoid right at the second.
That's what happens when you take an 8-month unplanned hiatus.
Yeah, and Andy and I were talking earlier today privately. Our brains just don't hold information as well as they used to. They just don't. Yeah. Lazy Bones is a classic Tin Pan Alley song. It's actually become a jazz standard and has been recorded by many artists, including Louis Armstrong and Harry Connick Jr. So this song gets seen again a lot So that's pretty cool.
I enjoy these nice little musical interludes we get here because it's just a musical performance.
Right.
It's like when watching Saturday Night Live and getting
getting musical performance.
Get a little break from the comedy and the skits and all that stuff, and it breaks it up. So I think it makes the show a more enjoyable. Makes the show pass more enjoyably.
I agree. So we get our talk spot. This time Fozzie and Phyllis are together, and she's trying to give him tips on comedy. She's struggling because Fozzie's struggling. He kind of refuses to make up facts for the sake of his jokes. Like, she's telling him, like, you have to lie. And he's like, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. And you think everything's going great when she suggests the small apartment joke, which is really cute. And she's like, I live in an apartment so small, my minds are hunchback. So what did you think about Fozzie's response here?
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he just kind of just sits there.
He goes, I got this. Yeah.
No, wife. He goes, I can't. Well, make up one. They don't care. He goes, I can't lie in my act. Fozzie,
that's it's just disturbing him.
It's flabbergasted.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that. You just did. You told him you're a comedian.
Yeah, that was great. Because his thing was, I do have a mouse in my apartment. He has gout. I was like, that's funny for a whole different reason, but it's not funny, Fozzie. I love Phyllis in this spot. I think she's great because she interacts with him like he's a person, like he's real. Like, I loved it.
She's funny no matter what she does. She was on the game shows all the time when I was a kid too. She had her
own. I do remember her on some game shows.
She had her own brand of chili. It was called Philly Dilly Chili.
Oh my gosh. I think I vaguely remember that. Now, you know, one of those, like, somebody will say something and it brings back a memory and you're like, oh yeah, I think I vaguely remember this. I really like her. She, in some ways, reminds me of my grandmother. It's the facial structure, the hair, just that, like, larger than life, like, everyone loves her attitude. That's my granny. I love that. I don't know how you feel about this next spot. I really actually liked this one.
I love this spot.
You do? Good.
This is a spot that actually is ingrained in my brain, and as soon as it started playing, I remembered it like word for word. It seems like it should be an opening number. It does, because it's just weird enough, right? Yeah. The Hugga Wugga. So we're on a distant planet, and he's a Hugga Wugga, and he's a beast, kind of being a tyrannical monster there to a loony bird. And this song battle ensues, basically, where this little gentle creature just keeps singing "You Are My Sunshine" when he's trying to do this Hugga Wugga horn, like, and he's blowing steam at him and everything. Like, this is probably one of the angriest looking Muppets we've had. Because he's red and he's got these eyebrows and his eyes move. And you have this little, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. And he just keeps going. He doesn't care. Hugga Wugga is just not having it. So this sketch was actually performed in 1971 as part of Nancy Sinatra's Las Vegas stage show, Moving with Nancy, Nice and Easy. And then was, of course, brought back again, obviously, here on the Muppet Show. And then in Gonzo Presents Muppet Weird Stuff, it's revealed that this is Gonzo and Camilla's song, though they refer to it as a Hugga Wugga Buggy Mugger. But I love this one so much. But this just ingrained in the Hugga Bugga and the You Are My Sunshine is just ingrained in my head. It's up there with Mana and the Kuzbanians. Yes. Yeah, just things that just thstick out from And the Hugga Wugga finally gets him, and his head goes flying off of the other one. Mm-hmm. It finally works, but he comes back at the end. He's still down there singing "You Are My Sunshine," and his head regrows. So and Hugga Wugga's like, what is happening here? What in the heck? Poor Hilda. So something else I've just noticed, I feel like there's a lot more different segments in this. So I guess maybe that shows Phyllis's commitment to the show, because it seems like there's a lot more blocks for this episode than some others that we get.
But we go back to Phyllis, and she's kind of received some beauty tips from Phyllis. And she's sure that everyone will finally notice the changes that she made. Fozzie does notice. Unfortunately, the change he is referring to is that Hilda has recently cleaned the dressing rooms and changed out the towels. Not her personal appearance. So she declares this means war.
Oh, boy.
Poor lady. So we get Muppet Labs, which I enjoy a lot. We don't get very often.
No. Well, we get more later.
As it goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Bunsen Honeydew is alone, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. He's showing off his latest scientific apparel, exploding hats, exploding earmuffs, and self-destruct neckties.
Mm-hmm. Nothing
Andy,
ever goes right.
Does it say you want any of those?
Well, maybe if to give them as presents to some people.
Oh, there's a few people I'd like to give a self-destruct necktie to.
Yeah, there's some people that we should get like an exploding hat, but we'll say that for another pod. Exploding earmuffs. That looks pretty funny though.
No, it was funny, but everything's on fire, and I was like, oh my God, this is why you don't make exploding clothing. Like, that just doesn't seem like even remotely a good idea. We get a blackout again. So I had to look this up. So blackouts are shorts. Because I was like, why do they keep calling these sketches blackouts? So it's a short comic stretch, traditionally, that end with the lights just turning off for a quick closing of the curtain.
Ah, okay.
So it says for the advent of television shows like Laugh In could follow a punchline with a jump cut to the next sketch, or a commercial instead of actually blacking out the lights. A series of blackouts appeared on the first season of The Muppet Show. They took place in front of a backdrop that had a fountain painted on it, and these skits each featured the guest star with a variety of Muppets. So I had to look out what that meant, because I was like, blackout? What?
Yeah, it's a transition. That's all it really is, to go from one sketch to another and give a beat. Yeah.
So Phyllis and Gonzo discussed her pocket camera and photographs of, well, her pocket. And that was it. It just fade scene.
That's something Gonzo would be interested in, too.
Oh, he would totally be. He'd be like,
he does. In The Great Muppet Caper, he does an expose on kneecaps.
That's right. He does.
Mm-hmm.
So we get Veterinarian's Hospital. Dr. Bob is operating on a very sick loaf of talking bread.
Mm-hmm.
And he's excited. He finally has discovered edible patience. Which I had a moment where I went, "Ugh." But he tells Janice, she's like, should I get I forget what she asked, what should she get? She's like, should I get this thing? And he's like, no, get the marmalade.
Not a big marmalade guy, by the way.
Depends. I like marmalade, but not all marmalades.
More of a jelly.
I like jams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's an odd thing.
Yeah, then we got Hachi Machi Hildy here.
Oh, she's coming in hard, right?
Yeah.
Kermit notices a very attractive woman backstage, but it turns that it's Hilda. And he notices how thin she looks. And she reveals that she's wearing very tight foundation garments, which I'm going to start using that phrase because that cracked me the hell up.
Well, it sounds better than a girdle, I guess.
It does, right? So the girdle turns out to be far too tight and pops, kind of destroying her whole appearance. Mm-hmm. But Kermit actually comes in with some, like, really sweet things, and he basically tells her, Hilda, we've always loved you the way you are.
Yeah.
And that's when she goes, the old gray mare is just what she used to be. So that it takes her a moment to realize, like, and I think it's great that they did this on Phyllis's episode, because she is such a proponent of, like, be happy, surgery, no surgery, whatever. So I think maybe that's why they chose this topic.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it.
Could be.
Phyllis now accompanies the Muppet Orchestra by playing the entertainer on the saxophone, which is funny. She's doing a pretty good job, but then there's a few moments where it's not so great.
Yeah,
so
squeaky.
Zoot comes to, like, show her up, and that's when it's really funny.
I love how half the, like, 3/5 of the Electric Mayhem are in the orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see them all, how different they are, because they have, tuxedos and stuff.
Right.
Phyllis gets the mouthpiece stuck on her tongue.
Yeah, and she's like, nah. She's like picking it away. I really liked this. And it was impressive. I guess she does know how to play the saxophone.
She might, yeah.
She might. I don't know. I mean, sometimes shows do that for like funny effect. Like that's actually not the person playing. But I thought it was great.
Sometimes they're like, "What's your secret talent?"
Yeah.
And you'll see that like as a different, like, Dana Carvey is a incredible drum player. And that's why you see him do that thing in Wayne's World. He actually does it on Saturday Night Live in the Wayne's World sketch as well. But yeah, there are people like you don't know, like, are like so adept or so have another talent that sometimes they'll get it in or build something around it.
I think that's fantastic. So we get the last of Phyllis Diller here, though. At closing, Phyllis asks Kermit to do her a favor, having him move to her right. She's kind of bonded with Fozzie here is what's happened, right?
Well, they're both comedians.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? She gets him, even though she's like, he needs help. She gets him and he gets her. Like, he thinks she's great. What Kermit doesn't know is, if you remember, he told Fozzie he'd put him in the trap door, and he did. Yeah. Kermit is now standing on the trap door, and the rope is in Fozzie's hand. Poor Kermit's going down.
Yeah.
So Waldorf says he loved the show, which they normally don't. They're always like, right? So Statler decides to pull a rope and open the trap door on the balcony, letting Waldorf go down.
Yeah.
So when this aired on Nickelodeon, I don't know when it aired on Nickelodeon, because when it was in the UK, or when it came to the US, it wasn't actually Nickelodeon. I think if we looked up once, it was CBS.
Yeah,
in 77
on CBS, yeah.
Yeah. But when they re-aired them years later on Nickelodeon, which would, I think, been in the 90s, I believe. Because they did a whole rerun of them in the 90s. I remember those. They actually cut out the Muppets Lab sketch. With all the things blowing up.
Well, yeah, that probably is not something good for children.
Probably not. But I just thought that was funny. Like all the other things that we had on TV at the time, and that's what they chose to cut out? Okay.
Well, no, I mean, I did, again, not to talk about my day job that much, but I have worked for that company back when I was a freelancer. And the notes I would get on some of the shows I was working on, there was a British show called Big Kids or something like that.
Yeah.
And literally I had to cut a scene at a skate park because one of the kids didn't have a helmet on. Like, so you would not,
They don't want to encourage kids not wearing a helmet.
Yeah, so Nickelodeon and Noggin and Nick Jr., they have very tight standards and practices when it comes to things that you wouldn't even think about, honestly.
No. They actually, Noggin has a whole segment, because I used to watch Noggin when Caden was a baby. They had a whole segment on, like, safety and wearing your helmet and doing stuff like that, so it makes sense. So, I just want to take a quick break. Before we roll into our next two episodes. We don't really have like sponsors or ad placement or anything like that. But what I want to do is take a moment and tell you about the Place to Be Facebook group that we have.
All right.
So, Andy, you actually do a lot over there in the group. So tell people like what they can expect if they come and join us. Now, they do have to be approved.
Yes.
We will approve you to the group, but we do that, people, so that we can keep out the bots, honestly.
Pretty much,
we don't want a group full of bots and ads and things that shouldn't be there. So,
and we do have a group of admins, so it's like we all do it together. We work together. What you can find in the Place to Be Facebook group is a great community of people that just are sharing information. They're sharing jokes. They're sharing, you have all those memes, and especially since COVID. Which is like pick two places to live, or here you have $15, and what would your perfect McDonald's meal be, or something like that. And it's just a place for people to like kind of get together.
Yeah.
And we share all of our podcasts in there. We share we have tournaments, which are a lot of fun. We just finished our big summer tournament. Which was the greatest animated movie of all time. And it went pretty by the numbers until the end, when it was hard. It was really hard to predict.
That one was hard for me. There were some days that were really hard for me to vote. Like it was.
I mean, Up had an incredible run. I could tell you that. A lot better than I thought. It actually knocked out Aladdin. So
Alice in Wonderland did better than I thought, and I'm saying that as like a hardcore Alice fan because usually I'm like the lone wolf in the room. I know there's a lot of us out there, so I'm not saying that, but usually in our little circle, I'm like kind of like the lone one out with my love for Alice, and I was very proud of how far she got, and wish she'd gotten further, but I get it.
Yeah, and you can't argue against Shrek versus The Lion King as the finals, and either would have won. Although Shrek would have been a little bit of an upset, I think, if Shrek had won, but The Lion King did win out in the end.
Yeah.
I think Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I think, may have finished third. But it was a lot of fun, and we do big tournaments usually in the summer. We do smaller tournaments. Actually, our friend, our co-host on the Disney Pod, Steve Riddle, is taking over.
Yes.
Running the tournament, so he will be deciding on the topics, and he will be putting up all the matchups and all that stuff. So we look forward to Steve taking over the mantle, and appreciate that he does continue on with it, because it is a lot of fun. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a lot of people voting, but it's something every day you vote, and it does get engagement and discussion among people, and it's just a fun thing to do that to pass time. It's something interesting. Yeah. That's what how I feel about it, and and sometimes they're not. They're easy to predict. Like when I did the candy tournament, we pretty much, if you had to guess which candy was going to win, most people would have said Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Oh, for sure.
Which it did win, because there are people that are allergic to peanut, have peanut allergies, and there are some people like my children who, my daughter really doesn't like peanut butter. And I don't understand it, because both me and her mom both love peanut butter, and it's one of the things that I don't eat as much on my diet because of the sugar. But it's not like coconut or other kinds of nuts,
right? Where people have strong feelings one way or another.
Strong feelings about them. Or like for me, like if you put a candy bar or you put like a gummy candy in front of me, I'm gonna go with the candy bar, the chocolate, every time. So and some people, a lot of people aren't that way. More people gravitate towards the Jolly Rancher or the gummy the gummy bears, or whatever. So it's a lot of fun. I don't know. We don't know what Steve has planned, but whatever it is, it'll be fun.
So come join us over at the Place to Be group. I will say I have had a few people ask me like, oh, where's your Facebook page, or where's your Instagram, or where's your TikTok or whatever. And right now we're focusing as a whole just on the group together, because we felt like, one, it's less pressure and work for everyone, and two, it's a way that like you can get everybody introduced to all of the people that are part of our Place to Be family, not just Place to Be Nation Pop. It's like everybody is there. Yeah.
Also, we're doing the 31 Days of Halloween. Well, you're doing 31 Days of Halloween every day.
Yes, I am doing 31 Days of Halloween.
That's your thing. You love to do these kind of, hey guys, these are our recommendations for this time of year. You do it for Christmas, do it for Halloween, and maybe some other time. And Miranda does all the work on this, does some really great graphics, and every day is posting a recommendation on a movie to watch, or a show, or a special in this time of year to get you into the spirit of the holiday coming up.
And we have a hashtag I created a few years ago. So if you watch anything during the month of October and you want to share it with us, use the hashtag PTB Halloween.
There you go.
All one word together. So come check us out. Oh my God, I just totally blanked. It's okay. So we'll go right ahead. Speaking of spooky season, we'll jump right on in to episode 119, which is the one I mentioned a few moments ago. That would be my favorite. This is my favorite so much. Episode 119 is Vincent Price.
Yes.
I love him.
I do love this episode as well. And fun fact, it actually scared me as a kid when I saw it.
I could understand that. I could totally understand that.
I did.
If you don't know who Vincent Price is, you are either very young or living under a rock. He has appeared on stage, television, radio. He's been in more than 100 films. He actually has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for motion pictures and one for television. Price's first film role was the leading man in the 1938 comedy Service Deluxe. He was born May 27th of 1911 and unfortunately passed away October 25th of 1993. He is the king of horror and spook. I think that's even what they refer to him as in this episode. Kermit does, at least. In honor of our guest star, this show is filled with monsters, ghosts, bats, vampires, and various spooky situations. We even have a 3-headed monster who auditions for the show. We sing, no, we dance, no, we tell jokes. There's 3 of them. This episode was produced October 19th through the 21st. And, that's really impressive, actually, too. If you look at it, they did 3 days to produce this. Like, that's phenomenal. Yeah. In 1976, it premiered in the UK, April 23rd of 77, and January 31st of 77 in NYC. So it looks like it was flip-flopped on this one. Don't know what happened, but for some reason and maybe this is where we were picking up and starting to become bigger in the US, and so who knows. It appears in multiple different releases. So it's in season 1, it's in Best of the Muppet Show, and it's also in Monster Laughs with Vincent Price. This is our first episode where all of the sketches actually center around a common theme. The Talking House sketch that we're going to get to is not related to the spooky theme, unlike a skit from 107. This is also the first episode from the first season that was released on DVD.
Oh, did not know that.
Let's see. In this episode, during the talking spot, the audience, the audience shown during the talking spot includes many weird creatures, some Muppet monsters, and different Kuzbanians. I think that was done on purpose to match the theme. And for the first time, Hilda introduces a number.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So we open our Muppet Show with Gonzo, who shoots the O.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this, I think, in the episode prior to this one, that sometimes things are repeated. So you'll see this again in episode 124. So season 1, episode 24. He will shoot the O again. Now, Kermit has the audience prepare for what he calls the weird, the strange, and the scary. And then he gets excited and says, because tonight's special guest is the king of horror, Vincent Price. And he promises there will be no craziness, no slapstick, no silliness. And at that exact moment, he is hit in the face by Fozzie with a pie.
Yes, and really good comedic timing there.
Oh, perfect. Fozzie nailed it this time. His comedic role was 100% wonderful. And that's when Kermit goes, well, at least not much of it.
Yeah.
So I need to know how you feel about our first opening number here, because I felt like you may not like this one.
Yeah,
I thought it was weird.
This orange one, you see him a bit.
He's called Behemoth.
Another thing that would freak me out as a kid was Muppets eating other Muppets or Muppets eating people.
And that happens a lot. There's a lot of eating of other things in this movie that are not food.
I was always afraid that like a Muppet or a monster was going to try to eat me.
Right. So in this episode, it happens a lot. Like, honestly.
Because that does happen on other shows too, like some of the Cross Superstars shows that I used to watch as a kid. So I think it scarred me, man. Some of these things were scary.
Well, okay, so
it was the 70s.
But he's also singing. He eats this other Muppet, right? He eats this terrified. His name is Shaky Sanchez is the name of the other little Muppet that gets eaten. So that's funny. They don't ever say that. Like they don't. I don't believe they ever call him by name. But if you look up show notes and stuff. But the Behemoth is singing Under My Skin.
Yes.
Which, when you're looking at it from this point, I always just thought it was like, it's supposed to be like a love song, right? Like, I've got you under my skin. If you look it up, you may not know what it is, but if you look it up, you do. It's a classic Cole Porter song. It's considered a signature number for Frank Sinatra. It was used a ton of times on various different TV shows. It's been in different comedy versions of it have been done before. But it's performed by Behemoth and Shaky together because he eats him and he's literally in his body.
Yes, under his skin.
Under his skin.
Ugh. I do love the Frank Sinatra version, by the way. One of my favorite CDs I own is the Rat Pack Live at the Sands, and things it on that one.
Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, this one because he eats them and then he comes out and they continue to sing it and
he keeps trying to like pop. He pops out of different, like he pops out of his mouth. He pops out of his shoulder. This I could see would be very disturbing.
It's a little disturbing.
But Shaky, who kind of like what makes it even more disturbing is he accepts his fate and he starts singing a verse of Que Sera Sera, which is whatever will be. Which is funny, but adds to the disturbing factor.
And that scared the pants off of Statler. And Waldorf wants to know if he actually just didn't forget. Did he forget to put him on again in the first place?
So then we go backstage and Scooter informs Kermit that someone would like to audition. And I thought this was funny because Scooter's being really vague. He's like, someone would like to audition. And he's like, oh, bring him in. And he's like, well, it's more of a, and he goes, oh, a her, bring her in. He's like, it's more of a they. And Kermit is like, what? And he meets the person auditioning. He discovers that it's a 3-headed creature. So it would make sense.
Yeah, and all 3 heads are different.
Yes,
so
they're all interested in different things. They all
different
do different
colors.
Things. Yeah,
teeth are in different places. So,
and they have a Big Bird kind of look.
Yeah,
like their mouth is shaped kind of like Big Bird's. Their feathers are kind of fluffy everywhere. All of them have the same color feathers. They're green, but then one of them has a green beak, one of them has a purple, and one of them has a blue. And I think it comes later, but Kermit even asks them, like, who's in charge? And they're like, oh, he is. No, he is. I thought he was. Like.
And that, you know how Kermit could have a short fuse at times.
Yes, he can. And he does that mouth square up thing here that you pointed out was not just him. I feel like it is. Because poor Kermit. That's his frazzled. Like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. So we do get Sweet Hilda. She's back looking like normal Hilda. And she gets to introduce the next sketch because Kermit has decided, because it comes from her home country of Transylvania. So that means Hilda is Romanian.
I did not know Hilda was from Transylvania.
I did not either.
She definitely has a European accent, like an Eastern European accent. Like,
it's not very Romanian to me, though. I have friends that are Romanian, so I didn't think it was.
She has a Slavic accent, like Hungary, like that area, Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, like where I was living, yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, it's not very Romanian, but still, I think it's adorable. So Hilda is from Transylvania, and that's why Hilda is allowed to introduce the House of Horrors. So Fozzie and Gonzo, which I had this moment. I remember this from a kid, right? But I had this moment when they're standing there at the beginning that I was like, how much inspiration, even though the Haunted Mansion is its own thing, has always been, there was, when they're standing in front of this house, it immediately made me think of when Gonzo first arrives at the house in Haunted Mansion that we did together. Yeah, I had that moment. Fozzie and Gonzo have rented a summer cottage. Unfortunately, Gonzo got the ad from this place that he calls Vampire Weekly, which if you pronounce it according to most Germanic languages, it's spelled vampire, right? That would be, the W is a V and the V is a W, so it'd be Vampire Weekly, not Vampire Weekly. I caught that immediately and was dying. So they soon received a visitor who is Vincent Price, and he's looking for a room for the night, as the road has washed out and his horse has a flat tire.
And I think this is our first, and that's fine. I don't think this is our first time with Uncle Deadly, right? I think we've seen him before.
I think you know what? It may be Uncle Deadly's first time. Let me see.
And Uncle Deadly, who is definitely based on Vincent Price.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
And
100%.
We do see Uncle Deadly a bit further. He does come up in some of the movies. He in Muppets, I think it's Muppets from Space.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Muppets from Space, or is it Muppet the Muppets?
It's the Muppets where he.
Yeah, the Muppets where he is part of the bad guy group, and he has a really good arc in that.
So apparently this is the first time.
Okay.
He is a blue reptilian-looking creature. He's known as the Phantom of the Muppet Show. He occasionally makes appearances on the Muppet Show, and then he kind of faded from the show in 2011 he makes a return in the Muppets as Tex Richmond's henchman, and then he later becomes prominent when the Muppets get the ABC series.
Yes. So we do get Uncle Deadly. He's one of the kind of the his role is increased over the years, like his visibility.
This is his first appearance. It says his first appearance was alongside Vincent Price in episode 119. He doesn't receive his proper introduction, though, until we get to 121.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. He's kind of going to be known as like a phantom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
he's got the creepy voice, and he's kind of like got that he sucks around look kind of thing, like the creature, like he's like, hides away in the attic kind of vibe.
Yeah. So we learn much more about him later, so I'll save all the other really cool facts next time Uncle Dudley shows up, but he's really funny. He does appear in the movies later as well. He's in the Muppet movie Muppets Take Manhattan, and he was actually even on The Tonight Show in '79 when Kermit the Frog hosted The Tonight Show, which I would love to try to see if we could find that somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I gotta look that up.
Yeah. So they're at this house, and his horse has a flat tire. He's not alone. He has his traveling with a beautiful assistant and a hideously deformed monster, who is Uncle Deadly. There is trouble, though, as it approaches midnight. Uncle Deadly reveals that at midnight, his master turns into a screaming, maniacal, demonic, raging, bloodlusting animal, and he gets mean. But something is different, because tonight is New Year's Eve. In which case, he turns into Jack Parnell.
Not exactly the transformation you'd expect.
No, it was not. Jack Parnell actually served as the conductor for the Muppet Show Orchestra for the entire run of the series. He's a longtime drummer and part of the big band movement in England in the 40s. Parnell set up his own group, the Jack Parnell Orchestra, in 1951, and in 1956 he was hired by Lord Ludgrade as a musical director for the ATV Broadcasting Company. He's worked on dozens of shows, including series spotlighting Tom Jones, as well as The Muppet Show here, and the conductor who takes credit for appearance of Buddy Rich on The Muppet Show. So he ends up getting other people to come on The Muppet Show years later.
Very good.
So, that's really funny. Yeah, he turns into Jack Parnell, and they kind of have like a little party thing. So it was. They have some gags. Like, it's supposed to be creepy, but they have some gags, and it's actually really cute. So, Statler believes that Vincent Price is the scariest actor since Fudge McGurk, he says.
Yeah. Who the hell is Fudge McGurk?
Right. So Fudge McGurk is a Muppet monster who appeared in Statler and Waldorf's balcony after they had invoked his memory, which is what they're doing here. So they invoke his memory, and he shows up. He has these 3 eyes, green hair, long orange horns, and these giant fangs. And he doesn't have just 2 fangs. He has 4. According to Statler and Waldorf, Fudge was a scary actor in the vein of Vincent Price. And his last film was The Phantom of the Soap Opera. And he really likes butter on his popcorn.
Oh, who doesn't?
If you don't, I question you.
I miss having butter on my popcorn on my diet.
Oh. Fudge was actually constructed from a Miss Kitty puppet with an extra eye, patches of green hair, orange horns, long fangs, and a tongue. So that one was pretty funny. It actually scares Statler right out of his seat, and I love it. So we go backstage with Kermit, and we learn our 3-headed monsters' names. Do you remember?
No, I don't actually.
Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Oh.
So Tom, Dick, and Harry are still waiting to audition, but they can't seem to figure out what it is they do because, Andy, as you said earlier, they all do something different.
Yeah.
They get referred to as the triple header. One says we sing, one says we dance, one says no, we tell jokes. Kermit asks if they've worked on television much, to which they reply always, sometimes, and never. And then they can't agree on a leader or a gender.
No, he is. She is. So let's just go to Sam introducing Wayne and Wanda.
Right. Sam introduced Wayne and Wanda. They sing Bewitched, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. Which, while this happens, Wanda literally is bewitched and turns into a blue frackle. So this is actually a song it's not just for the Muppet Show, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. It's been done by Ella Fitzgerald, Rod Stewart. It's supposed to be about that strange feeling that comes from falling in love again. So I like when they use these songs that are like known or known by many. So that's pretty.
And they give it their own Muppet spin. Yeah.
We have a panel discussion this time. I don't think we have a talk. Oh, we do have a talk spot. Panel discussions are usually really funny. Mm-hmm. This one is about gourmet dining. Apparently, I just forgot how to talk. We have Gorgon Heap, who is like world-renowned eater, and Pierre Le Coussat, who is the French chef, been invited to this panel. And we get it. People get eaten again.
I know. I wrote in my notes. Second time the monster eats somebody in this episode.
Yeah, so our Gorgon Heap eats Kermit with the assistance of Vincent Price.
I know.
Because then he goes, I love frog legs.
I know. He speaks in French gibberish, basically.
Yes, pretty much.
Well, Gorgon is like eating everything in sight, and then finally, nothing else left to eat except for the chef.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which now you're going to be really hungry because who's going to make your food?
Mm-hmm. It was prepared by Chef Escoffier. And then he eats and says, "He ate my hat."
He eats everything, but he's the world-renowned eater.
Of course he is.
He's the eater of things.
Ugh.
Apparently all the things.
I could have sworn I had nightmares as a kid like that. It's like some Muppet monster was going to eat me after stuff like that.
I can see why you did, Andy.
I was like 5 when this came out. And then he comes over, he's about to eat Kermit.
And you've already seen another monster eaten.
I know.
Yeah, they're eating their own. Like, I could see where that would be disturbing.
Come on, and Vincent Price is going to get on the action. Start seasoning him up. The 70s were a scary time, man.
I'm not doubting it.
But you know, I can't blame him because I actually like frog legs. So.
And there's a lot of work. But
I know. It's like a bony chicken leg.
Yeah. There is a lot of work.
Well, I ain't going to turn down. Somebody going to offer me frog legs. I ain't turning them down.
Right. So we get the dance, which is really cool because it's just full of ghosts in the ballroom. Mm-hmm. We get a couple of ghosts. There's actually a Dracula and his victim. We get Beautiful Day Monster, which we saw, was it the Florence Henderson episode, maybe? Yeah. Who, if you guys remember, appeared like on the Ed Sullivan Show. Like, he's actually got a lot going for him. Yeah, and everything's... Yeah.
We get that effect that's similar to the Haunted Mansion ride, where you see the kind of you kind of see right through them. So
and everyone's like dancing. Mm-hmm. You get Bats, Miss Kitty, a blue female Frackle who actually takes her head off, George the janitor, and Mildred Huckstetter, who we haven't seen in a little while.
Yeah, I think we saw Mildred in the last episode.
And they're the only normal dancers.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. They're your problematic couple. They're kind of, or emblematic couple. Well, they are problematic too, but I really enjoyed this. Like, it's It's not the traditional at the dance, but I think that's what makes it perfect. And like you said, it does kind of give you strong Haunted Mansion ride vibes.
Yeah.
We do get a UK spot with ghosts. They are haunting around backstage, singing the song "I'm Looking Through You," which was it's another just performed for this show. And Fozzie walks backstage during their number, which I thought was really cute, but he's terrified. He's absolutely terrified and runs away.
Well, I'd be terrified too if I came back and saw ghosts singing in the backstage. Because haunted theater, that's up there, man.
I think depending on the theater, I expect it to be haunted. Like, I think I'm bummed if it's not, and if it's a like, I won't lie. Like, not to go too off topic, but like, it depends. I think you expect things to feel like a certain way, to have a certain vibe. Yeah. We went to actually this open air market, or we went to this open air museum because they were having a special welcome to fall market. They featured tons of like farmers and vendors all doing like, there was like the company there that has like fresh yogurt and milk. They had like actual just meats, vegetables, like all kinds of different stuff. But they also had just like normal food and crafts and stuff too. But we went, and this museum, like one of the oldest houses that they just restored is like from 1400 something. And it's the bathhouse. So it's got all the different like bathtubs through time that would have been in this house. Super cool, right? But like there's certain parts when you're in this building that you're like, oh yeah, this place is for sure haunted. Like there was just like this feeling inside your body where you're like, yeah, I think I'll leave this room now since I'm by myself. So, like, you kind of expect that from certain places, you know? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. If you're in a theater and they're like, this theater was built in 1573, I'd be like, oh, yeah, there's some ghosts in here.
Yeah, like is this built on an Indian burial ground, too, while you're at it? Jesus.
Right. I mean, it's Germany. A lot of things happen here. And the house was built in this building has been fully restored, but it is originally from 1463, I think it was.
Wow.
And the building next to it is the oldest at the museum and was been there since like 1317.
It predates Columbus, Jesus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no wonder I feel uncomfortable in here. If you believe in ghosts, which I do, I'm pretty sure they's in there. So while I would be terrified like Fozzie, like, don't you want your like really old theater to possibly be haunted?
Sure.
It adds character.
It does.
And he's like, I don't know how much I agree with Miranda, but I'm just going to go with it.
Sure. I got you. I got your back.
So we have our talk spot with Vincent, and he smiles to reveal that he has real vampire fangs, which he grew on demand to showcase his acting prowess. Because Vincent really is still known as like the man of mystery and horror, right? Kermit asks Vincent how he managed this. And the latter begins kind of a very pompous explanation about just years of training and concentration. And Kermit cuts his monologue short, kind of opening his own mouth to reveal a set of vampire things, which is freaking adorable.
Yeah.
But then he bites Vincent on the neck.
I thought that was funny.
Which I kind of was like, again, someone's biting someone.
You don't feed these people enough.
I mean, I understand the other two actually ate the person, but I mean, maybe that's what they meant by they promised scary and weird and.
Well, there were like all kinds of stuff like that. Like as a kid, like, you know, you become a vampire too. And it's like, there were like some shows that did stuff like that. Like there was an episode of Smurfs that did that. Mork and Mindy did something.
Oh, they did.
Where it was like, you know, they become these other aliens and Mindy gets part of it first, and then she's the one that gets Mork. And
oh yeah,
so that was like one of the things that that's one thing that scares me. It's like, you know, when I was a kid was like, you know, becoming one of them.
Everybody, because it was a reoccurring gag, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Kermit has to tell the three-headed monster that they're not going to be in the show tonight, but they've already prepared a song called Tea for Three. And upon hearing that, Kermit orders the three-headed Muppets out and then leaves.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for the three-headed monsters.
Yeah.
I did. So Muppet News Flash could also be why you were terrified as a child.
Yeah. This one, I have it on right now. It would terrify me as a kid.
Yeah. So he has reports that furniture is turning into monsters as a man watching at home is eaten by his living room furniture.
Yeah, literally the
Time number 4.
First the ottoman, then his little bureau there, just like, and they all have fangs.
Which kind of made me think of Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, when they think they're doing a good thing, but towards the end of the movie, and all the toys that they've left for Christmas for these kids, like start coming alive and like chasing and attacking and stuff, and like terrifying the shit out of the kids.
Yeah, and then he gets eaten by the TV. This is all while the newsman's doing the voiceover, and then his desk gets up and eats him. What the? God.
Yeah, poor Andy. Andy's about to have a panic attack with all the eating that has happened.
Andy's going to be in the corner, like rocking back and forth in a few minutes. No, I'm like looking at my couch I'm sitting on right now. This ain't got no eyes, right? No fangs.
This is my favorite episode. So we have another blackout. Vincent can't find Hilda for his dressing, so Sweetums appears and offers to give him literally a hand. Vincent half enjoys this, but is half puzzled and claims that this is kind of his joke. And it kind of is. Fozzie, though, is backstage as well, consoling our three-headed monster. But they've already come up with a new act. And they remind me of Fozzie because they're just so determined. You know how Fozzie's always like, well, what if I do this? What if I do this? Always trying to think of what act he can do. Mm-hmm. So one head has decided that they are a straight man. One will be the comic, and one will be the audience. And no matter how bad they are, they're always going to love themselves.
Yes.
And Fozzie kind of hugs them and like agrees with them, which I thought that was really cute. It's basically a message of accepting yourself, which we kind of had last episode with Hilda. Mm-hmm. Just in a different manner. We get the talking house, which this is the only sketch without monsters or spookiness, which the talking houses are kind of spooky on their own.
I was going to say, like, the houses are kind of spooky too, though.
Yeah. I like the talking houses, though.
Yeah, I do too.
This next sketch I thought was really fun. Vincent, Uncle Deadly, 2 ghosts, and some random Muppet monsters, including Frackles, Droop Again, a purple heap, a green heap, Miss Kitty, who has appeared a lot in this episode, and one of our flower eating monsters saying, "You've got a friend." I really enjoyed this. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's because it's one of those we think it's going to be one type of song, and they do this a lot where it kind of like they kind of bend it on their ear, like it's a misconception song, really. It's like you think they're going to sing something like, I've got a spell on you or something like that, and
right?
No, here they're singing "You've Got a Friend," which is I think it was like a James Taylor song or something. It was
done by a couple of different people. James Taylor does do it. It was recorded on 2 albums in 1971, actually, by Carole King on her album Tapestry, and then also by James Taylor on his album Mudslide and The Blue Horizon. Both actually won a Grammy for this song. Wow. King got it for Song of the Year and Taylor for Best Pop Vocal Performance of a Male. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's a classic misdirection with which is again something else that the Muppets are really strong at.
Oh, they are. So that number actually, which is our closing number, was cut from the season 1 DVD. However, the song and its introduction do appear fully intact on the German release of that episode for some reason, including the English soundtrack.
Maybe it was a big hit maybe in Germany. Who knows?
I guess so. Probably based on the theme type of song. I could see that,
Yeah.
On Nickelodeon, the dance was also cut out, by the way.
Oh, interesting.
I'm trying to think of why. Oh, her head pops off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Brazilian airing, they cut out backstage scene after the House of Horrors sketch, which I don't remember what the backstage scene was after the House of Horrors. Oh, it was they can't agree on gender or a leader.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's kind of weird.
Okay.
Yeah. For kids, confusing
and
for children.
I guess, yeah. And then
At the
they also
time.
cut out. Oh, for sure, definitely at the time. And they cut out Wayne and Wanda's number.
Oh.
So we end out our show with Vincent using what he's told Sweetums was his. Kermit asks the audience to give Vincent a hand, and Vincent says, well, I should give you one, to which Kermit is like completely floored and just flabbergasted. He's like, what? And that kind of rounds out episode 119, which is funny, I've noticed. So today we're about to cover 120, and that's it for the evening for us. So we've covered the 17, 18, 19, and 20.
Mm-hmm.
But the Muppet Wiki will actually break down and tell you, like, when this released on DVD, it goes by disc, right? Like, disc. So we are actually covering the last 3 episodes of disc 3 and the first one of disc 4.
Ah, okay. I have these on DVD somewhere.
I think my mom does at her house, maybe, or we used to. I don't know if she still does. So it's very strange how they broke them down. So basically, they put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes per disc with a couple of bonus Jesus Louise, bonus features as well on each disc. So bumping on over to number 120, which actually means that our next episode will be the last 4 of season 1.
Yeah.
Before you will see us appear on Stream Lounge with our first movie.
Yes, I can't wait.
So episode 120, Miss Valerie Haroper. So Valerie Haroper, this one was production of October 26th, 27th, and 28th of 1976. Appeared November 22nd of 76 in America. So now we're flip-flopping. We're there. We've officially flip-flopped. And not until January 2nd of 77 in the UK, which UK seasons do run very much differently than American seasons do as well. So I'm wondering if that's where we're starting, like where the flip-flop starts to happen. Did you know who Valerie Haroper was?
Yes. As a kid, I knew who she was because she was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yes, she was.
As Rhoda, and then she got her own spinoff, and then later on she appeared in lots of things, and she famously got fired from her own show later.
Yes,
which was,
she does.
Valerie's Family, which she was difficult. I don't know the exact story about it, but she was fired, and it became the Hogan Family, and they replaced her with Sandy Duncan, who has been somebody we've already had on the Muppet Show.
Yes.
Did you know who Valerie Haroper was?
It was one of those, like, I know her face, I know her name, but what is she from?
Okay.
It was like, I know you, but why do I know you? And then I was like, oh, yes, because my mom was a huge fan of the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the spinoff. And I remember, like, even watching, like, reruns and such of that, both of those shows, actually. And I vaguely remembered the whole her getting kicked off of her show thing. She was born August 22nd of 1939, and she did pass away on August 30th of 2019.
Yeah, she battled cancer for a while. Yeah, she was a little young. And also, she was one of those, like her, Margot Kidder, they kind of went a little kooky in the later years.
Yeah, which sometimes happens.
Yeah.
In this episode, we get Valerie showing up with kind of unexpectedly on the Muppet Show, and she begs Kermit to let her do the opening number. Statler and Wardorf end up going to be very impressed by her, and they're going to fight over which one will pursue her. So we kind of get started here with Gonzo trying to hit the gong with a large mallet, but it ends up collapsing on top of him.
Yes.
So this is one of the few times where our episode actually begins backstage. So we're backstage, but it's not a backstage gag. It is actually the opening of the show. Kermit is confronted by George the janitor, about this big mess that's happening backstage. And George complains that it's because of all those Muppets blowing their tops.
Yes, and we have a Muppet blow his top.
And we have a Muppet blow his top, which things, again, as we mentioned at the top of this episode, are quite literal, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it great. So Valerie Haroper actually arrives, and she's so excited to be here. She's a huge Muppet freak, as she says. And George encounters the comment by claiming everyone on the show is a huge freak.
Yeah.
And she asks Kermit if she could do the big opening number. Kermit is like, I've already scheduled Bertha Beasley and her galloping geese, which I thought was hysterical.
I love, though, I think this is the first time we have somebody entered from the street, too.
Yeah, like before it's like, oh, we're so excited for them to be here today. But yeah, this is you're right. This is the very first time.
Well, like we also have get had the when you read opening later on too, where we get the 15 seconds, but it becomes a staple. Mm-hmm. But so I don't think we've ever seen anybody come in from the stage door, the theater door.
We've read facts about people saying, "Oh, I really want to be on the Muppet Show," but that's off screen, right? That they said, "Oh, I really wanted to work with this. I really wanted to do this." This is the first time that you have them literally show up. Like, I mean, yeah, and it's filming. It's done on purpose, but this is the first time they've ever had somebody just pop by and be like, let me be part of this. Kermit discovers that she sabotaged Bertha Beasley and her galloping geese. So he allows Valerie to audition with Broadway Baby, where she's impersonating Mae West and Marilyn Monroe. Mm-hmm. And when she is through, Kermit exclaims, well, that was great, I tell you. You're going to be going out on that stage a star, but you're coming back a chorus girl.
Mm-hmm. Well, she takes out the opening act, like literally, she gets pecked into oblivion, she says.
Yeah. She sabotages her by scotch taping a bushel of birdseed to her body. So Bertha never makes it to the theater. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, it doesn't really paint Valerie in the nicest light. Like, she pulled like Crystal from Showgirls here. Like how Nomi takes out Crystal, basically. Yes, folks, I compared the Muppet Show to Showgirls on a podcast. Deal with it.
Oh my God!
I broke Miranda. See, we're getting late into the show, and Miranda's like at the point where she's like, I've had enough of his ridiculousness.
I don't know. That was really funny. It may also be that it's like 12:30 in the morning for me. So this is where Statler and Waldorf actually get super impressed, which makes sense. Mae West was a big name, Marilyn Monroe, big name. So when you're acting as those two women would, like, you're going to be impressed. And Valerie was a pretty woman too. So they're starting to argue over who's going to go backstage and meet her, and they decide to flip for her, literally flip. And Statler wins the flip. Mm-hmm. So one of both of our favorites, we haven't seen him in a minute, the Swedish Chef.
Oh yeah, he hasn't been on any of the episodes with Carl.
It took you a second. You're like, wait a second. No, we haven't. We've talked about him, but he's not actually appeared. So he adds cream and fruit to a chocolate cake, but as he goes to cut it, the cake objects, but in Japanese.
Oh boy.
So the cake is instead dispatched by a Karkachmuger, which is
Karkachmugen?
Yeah, you do it better. It's based on that. I don't think I
probably will be Swedish at some point in my life.
I mean, I don't think that's how that works, Andy, but okay.
No, well, see, this is what happens. I don't know if any of y'all have ever done like Ancestry or anything. And every so often, like, a couple times a year since I've done it, like, your results are updated.
Oh, yeah, because the more people that do it that match your DNA sequence and stuff, especially if you have like a sister or a mother or someone do it and you attach them to you, it improves it even more. So like, I've told the story of mine improving even more, and I got excited, and then I just realized that I am literally the DNA embodiment of the whitest white girl ever.
Well, no, like I've had I was Portuguese for a while, and then now all of a sudden I think I might be Norwegian. I might have some like it's not large percentages, but it's like because there are things that like aren't changing,
Oh, no, mine is a very large percentage.
The Russian Polish is never going to change because that's my mother's
Right.
side. But, my dad's side, my great-grandfather kind of got around a little bit, if you know what I mean. And I am a mutt like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I got like Ghana, and I have Senegal, and I think Martinique, the Caribbean island. But then I also got Wales and Ireland and all these other things. And it's like, so I'm telling you, Miranda, at one point I could be Swedish.
Okay. Well, I am not. I am 92% British and Irish. And then they broke that because, you've done it. So, they tell you like you're 90% from this area. And then they break it down even more.
Mm-hmm.
And inside that 92%, if you take that and make yes, you're only 92%, but then 100%, right, is what you're working off now. So then when they break it down even more, they're like, oh, you're 80% Irish and 20% British. And I'm like, great. So I am 92% Irish and British.
Wow. There you go.
And they updated it a while ago, and I got oh, you also have South Africa. And I got super excited. No, it's where all the white people live.
I have relatives in South Africa too. My grandmother, my father's mother was German Jewish, and her relatives fled and they went to South Africa.
Right. Well, yeah. So I am just the embodiment of the whitest white girl possible.
And this cake speaks gibberish as well.
Japanese. He's speaking Japanese.
Yes.
It says.
And he said it becomes the cake smoosher.
Schmoosher.
I love the little cut they do because when he lifts the hammer, when he lifts the bat, it's a Muppet.
It is a Muppet.
When he hits the cake, it's an actual cake.
You can actually, so if you go on the wiki, you can actually click on the baseball bat, and it tells you that the baseball bat appears again, which I thought was funny. We have Statler and Waldorf. That's a big thing. So Statler storms backstage because he won the flip contest. And he is demanding that he meet Valerie. He's even prepared a line for what he's going to say.
Wow.
Hiya, Toots. You some kind of hot-looking tomato.
Yeah, that's not really a 2022 pickup line, I guess.
It is very much a very old line from a very old man. And Statler tells Kermit about his gift for Valerie.
Mm-hmm.
An African berry bush.
Oh,
it grows at the rate of 3 feet an hour, except when it rains. And it grows faster. I don't know that I want that plant, but I think maybe that's the Jack the Beanstalk plant.
Could be, yeah.
I mean, if you're growing that quickly, it has to be. But, of course, Kermit is like, you got to leave. Statler refuses. I mean, he's old. He has persistence, right?
Yeah, and all these old names. He's talking about the Barrymores, like Lionel and Ethel and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Will you get out of here? No, I'm just going to sit over here at my bush.
Oh, they also do this genius thing where those are really funny, what would you say, teenage, preteen kind of jokes where they could be taken another way?
Entendres, double entendres.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It evaded me the word there. But yeah, I think they also do that very simplistically, but very well.
Yeah.
So Muppet Newsflash, our newsman speaks with Miss Klinger, right? Klinger.
Yeah, Miss Klinger.
Miss Klinger, who is Valerie, whose husband Gus has gradually turned into a rug and had to sue for divorce because he did not match the drapes.
Ah, the carpet doesn't match the.
I liked that one.
Not the first relationship that may have broken up for that period, that reason. But
probably not. So we get a poem by Ralph, the butterfly. And as Ralph recites his poem, a small yellow butterfly flutters by. The poem, though, is interrupted, however, when a giant butterfly catches Ralph in his net and carries him off stage. Which I thought was just really funny. Yeah, it's not super funny, but it's funny. I found it funny.
It is. It's kind of amusing here.
It's not as funny as the carpet matches the drapes thing, but it's funny like in its own way.
It's
So sweet George, in his ignorance, decides to water Statler's plant for him. He's the custodian. He's supposed to take care of things, right?
yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So he's just doing his job, water the plants, clean up the area. But it immediately begins to grow because if you remember, he said it grows 3 feet an hour unless it rains. So to assume that's the same concept of unless it's watered, right? And it begins to grow out of control, and Statler claims that it's going to eat everything in sight.
George is looking very unkempt, even more so than usual here.
I would be frazzled too, though, if I watered a plant and it immediately started growing like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right; he comes in that way,
like his coveralls are wide open, and how the hell did Statler get up on that crate?
I don't know. I don't, but I would also have to imagine that we're starting to see George more disheveled because we're almost at the end of season 1, right?
Yeah.
Think of all the crap he has put up with by now.
Yeah, he's cleaning up after Muppets
all day, blowing their tops.
Mm-hmm.
Feathers everywhere. People pouring bird seed, getting locked in magicians' cages. I mean,
Dirty Harry blowing up shit everywhere. Crazy Harry. Yeah.
Gonzo and his stunts. I mean, Statler and Waldorf and their stunts, breaking teacups. I mean, think about it.
And come on. And if monsters are eating people, they got to go to the bathroom at some point, right?
You're not wrong.
Because they got to be pooping the people out.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So we go to the dance, and that baseball bat, it strikes again.
Mm-hmm.
And it knocks the head off of one of our blue freckles.
Oh, boy.
To be honest with you, I don't remember anything else that happens in that dance sequence.
I think we get Dr. Teeth here. It might be the first time we see Dr. Teeth in the dance.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's dancing with, what's her face? The purple lady.
The purple lady. Mildred? Okay.
Mildred, yeah, he's dancing with Mildred, and the blue frackle gets his head knocked off because he's dancing with the green lizard with a wig on.
Yeah, with the things.
Kind of looks like George Washington.
That's a good description. Oh, if you guys look it up, that's a good description. Oh, so on our UK spot, which as we've mentioned is always a song, it's Rolf and Sam the Eagle, and they perform Titwillow, which is from Gilbert and Sullivan. That happens a lot. It's from Gilbert and Sullivan's light opera, The Mikado, which tells the story of a sorrowful dicky bird who sings willow, tit, willow. That was a mouthful. Until he plunges himself into the river flowing beneath his tree. Wow. I did not know that.
Tit, willow, and dicky bird.
Yeah. Yep. I'm struggling here. Oh, God.
We're, mature as always, the two of us.
I know. At the end of the day, there's a lot of me that is a 12-year-old boy.
I seriously, I think people are expecting me and not expecting my son Dylan right now. I'm laughing.
We could give them Dylan and Caden, but
yes.
God.
The most incoherent podcast ever.
Oh, God, yeah. So the singer kind of interprets this bird's actions to be the result of unrequited love, and telling the story of his beloved threatens to succumb to the same fate should she not return his affections. So Sam is eager to sing when he learns that it will be a culture song. He loses interest. However, when he hears the lyrics.
It's just Sam's face is to crack me up right now.
Oh, Sam's face. He looks so disgruntled.
He knows there's a joke in there. There's people are gonna take this the wrong way. He's like, I am not saying this, basically. Yeah.
This song, he's assuring him, the song is from a light opera, therefore it's respectable. And Sam kind of becomes increasingly, awkward and impatient as he repeats willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And he's trying to ignore the audience laughing because he doesn't understand it. Because Sam is wholesome and pure, and that's why he likes Wayne and Wanda, is because they're wholesome and pure. What's funny is an alternative title for this song is actually the first line of it, which is on a tree, by a river, a little tom tit, which is just too much.
Yeah.
Just too much. We move on, and Floyd Pepper and two whatnots sing Searchin' while seeking out Mary Louise, who Mary Louise is the one that she gives me hardcore Prairie Dawn vibes. Like, I'm pretty sure that's where they got the idea of Prairie Dawn. Searchin' is about a man who kind of likens himself to a famous detective. Sergeant Friday is looking for the girl of his dreams. It was a top 10 hit for the Coasters on the B side of their Youngblood single and was later covered by the Beatles. He's in a forest, though, searching for Mary Lou, who's dressed in a yellow toga with a wreath of flowers on her head. And she always seems to pop up behind Floyd when he's looking in the other direction.
These two guys are kind of creepy, though, these two whatnots.
Oh, yeah, those whatnots. One looks disturbing. One looks like he just left the Amish commune. I ain't gonna even lie.
Yeah, I mean, with their beards and their trench coats. Yeah, like kind of.
Yeah. The blue one with like all the red hair and stuff. I'm like, he just left the commune. He doesn't even know what he's doing. Somebody just asked
the other one looks like he just got on parole.
Well, in all fairness, that's probably the two people that would be the best at helping you locate someone.
Yeah, probably.
I'm just saying.
I'll find her. I'll look over there for you. All right.
Both whatnots were actually performed simultaneously by Jim Henson.
Ah, there you go.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it before with the Snowths, the little purple fuzzy people. I really love them. And if you don't remember what a whatnot is, because we brought it up several times this episode, but I didn't say what they are. Whatnots are literally when they have just like various pieces backstage and they just pop them together based on the skit that they're doing. So these people were literally, their pieces were literally like felted on or glued on or whatever to create the Muppet just for this. And then they'll be taken back apart to be used later in various ways. Or they might just take off like the hair pieces or something like that. But they would literally, whatnots are literally like different pieces of Muppets like thrown together to make a look for the sketch, essentially. Which I think is really cool. The idea is also creepy. The thought of this just giant room of like whatnot pieces everywhere.
Yeah,
I find it disturbing and entertaining, and I both want to see it.
As much as I would love to visit like the Muppet studio or something like that, walking in there and just seeing the Muppets like just standing there, like that would freak me out a little bit, I think.
I think so too, but there's this macabre sense where I still want to see it, if that makes any, I don't know. So Wardoff is jealous, of course, of his friend, and he's kind of left to his own devices, which we've learned these guys shouldn't be together, but they shouldn't be apart.
Yeah.
So he tries to amuse himself by making faces and tickling himself, and I'm sorry, but these faces disturbed me.
Yeah, it kind of looks like he's doing something else.
Beat up. Well, it kind of looks like he's been like beat and disfigured.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like he's all like, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, not the best use of Waldorf there.
I mean, kind of funny, but it felt like a filler that was unneeded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it proves the point that they shouldn't be apart, that they're meant to be together. But like I said, they also don't need to be together either. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So Kermit confronts Statler about his plant kind of running amok. And Statler tries to protest, quoting from the theater goer's manual. Kermit refers to his comments as hogwash, which I love because I heard that word growing up so much. George, who was about to go wash the hogs, though, which cracks me up. He determines that Kermit does not want the hogs to be washed, and so he dumps his bucket of water on the plant again. Which causes it to do what, boys and girls?
It grows even more.
Much to Kermit's detriment. Because now he's caught up in its vines. I am really surprised that Kermit has not had a breakdown. I mean, he almost did, if you remember. Yes. And we got really snarky Kermit one episode. And I loved it. So Valerie is in her dressing room, and she's in search of a comb. And this is when she's introduced to Bernie, the makeup man, who is also known as Easter Bernie.
Yes.
Who is The Easter Bunny. He's a blue rabbit who appears in several of the first season episodes. He gets his name in a scene with Hilda and Valerie Haroper. So he got his name this episode when he appears in her dressing room as the makeup man. When Bernie gave Valerie an egg, Hilda cracks up that he was the Easter Bernie. Mm-hmm. Unlike other animals on the Muppet Show, though, the Bernie puppet was created from a whatnot head.
Oh, it kind of looks
Most
like
animals have distinct, as we just mentioned, whatnots are usually just random parts. Mm-hmm. This time they used a whatnot head to create Easter Bernie, which I like. I really like that. I thought that was clever. Like a filler. You don't see much of, and this is an example of what I was bringing up earlier. You don't see much of Valerie in this.
No.
She came in begging to do her thing. She did her opening number, which caused the argument between Statler and Waldorf. She did Muppet Newsflash. We just got her right here in her dressing room. And we only see her like 2 more times, really.
Yeah, probably most minimal of the hosts we've had so far.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So Kermit has to kind of get a helmet and cut through this berry bush.
We skipped over something that happens at the end of this Hilda, Valerie. And she gets kind of goosed, Valerie Haroper, like pinched. And it was Animal. Yeah. And he comes out, hiya, sweetie. I'm like, I don't know how that would play these days, but I love animals, so I'll give him a pass. And it's a Muppet.
It is a Muppet. But I had forgotten that part.
And Valerie bops him on the head, too. And kind of knocks him out.
Good for him, because, don't go around pinching people and calling them sweetie. Mm-hmm. Not all of us like that.
It got Kermit with the Dr. Livingston hat here.
Yes, they call it a pith hat or a pith helmet.
Pith, yes.
Yeah, pith helmet. Sorry, my accent. It probably sounded weird.
Well, it sounds like you have like a lisp. Like, it's a pith helmet.
It does. A pith. Pith. Yeah, I don't have a lisp. I'm just Southern. and I'm currently living in Germany. My husband's from Illinois. I'm from the South. We're living in Germany. I was learning Slovakian before this. So, you have to forgive me. I'm now a jumble of words, okay?
Plus your podcast co-host is a New Yorker.
Yeah, there's a difference. You and Jerry will both be considered Northerners, but there's a difference in Chicago Northern and New York Northern.
Yeah, Chicago kind of talks like that.
He doesn't, though. He doesn't.
Yeah, see, my New York accent has gone down a little bit since I've been living in Connecticut. But
yes,
Connecticut's basically New York. Half of it's New York, half is Massachusetts, really. Mm-hmm. It's just, some kind of agreement was made to make it its own state at some point.
You and him have this talent, though, that you can do where if you need to pour it on, you can.
Yeah, not for
But
nothing.
that's not what you sound like every day.
Yes. Unfortunately,
I always sound Southern. It's not as deep as it used to be. Oh, I promise you it's not. But but he's got his pith helmet, and he has to cut through the berry bush jungle just to get to his desk. Fozzie then informs Kermit that he will be unable to do his act, which is surprising because he's always so pushing to do his act no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. But apparently the plant has eaten his cue cards.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So Statler tells Kermit that if he will allow him to meet Valerie, this whole mess could have been avoided. If you just let me meet her, this would have never happened. To which Kermit states, the only person you're going to meet back here is Tarzan.
And we get a Tarzan scream.
Much better. Statler, though, just goes, hope he's a good dancer. We get Wayne and Wanda, which we've gotten a lot of them lately. We're getting more Wayne and Wanda in our life here. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Well, I think they kind of go away, though. I
think they do
much in the later seasons. I don't think we see them much.
It's true. And they're not a favorite of mine. I don't know.
They're fine.
They're fine.
They're like a sorbet.
It's fine, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
So they sing On a Clear Day, You Can See Forever. This is from Burton Lane and Alan J. Lerner's musical On a Clear Day You Can See Forever, which was performed by Wayne and Wanda as they picnic. Predictably, though, the hapless singers barely get through the song's first verse before their clear day is ruined by smoke that fills the stage from the factories in the background. In one spot on the wiki, it tells you the fog rolls in, but that's not what it is. It's actually smoke from the background factories, which this has happened before. Remember they did one where they're talking about a beautiful day or something and the wind like literally blows them off screen?
Yes.
So yeah, it's one of those like kind of funny. It's fine, but I don't love it.
Yes, I agree with that.
Muppet Newsflash. There's nothing.
Nothing. Just whoops.
Whoops. Gone. There's nothing. Yeah. Nothing there. I don't know. Do you think this was literally just like, let's add something?
Yeah,
like
kind of.
Funny. And again, it's fun.
We need a transition.
Yeah. Should have just done a blackout. You should have just done blackout with Wayne and Wanda and gone into Valerie.
Yeah, they could have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get Valerie in her dressing room, and Kermit informs Valerie that she's going to have to perform her closing number with the clodhoppers. Which I heard that word a lot growing up. Did you know what this word was?
I've heard it, but I didn't know it meant anything.
Yeah. But here specifically, our clodhoppers are a group of dancing blue monsters who reminded me of both Telly and Elmo.
And I got Grover. You know what it looks like? It looks like those fake. It would be like a fake Grover that would try to get you to pay them money to take a picture with them in Times Square.
Like when you get like a knockoff of something.
It's like the Chinese version of Grover.
Yes. One looks a lot like Grover. One looks a lot like Telly.
Yeah.
One looks like kind of a cross between Elmo and Grover. So they definitely all lend each other a hand, like they all kind of. But clodhopper, like when I grew up, if you're in the South, they'd be like, take off them clodhoppers. It usually meant like your boot.
It was your shoe, right?
It was your shoe. It mainly meant you were like stomping around and making it loud and known that you had shoes on. My mom used to say it about our boots that we wore like out to the barn, like on the farm. She used to call them, or even my grandmother, but they were your clodhoppers. Like you needed to take them off. Yeah.
We used to hear for back in the day before Timberland boots or whatever became something, people used to refer to them as shit kickers.
Yes, that's what we called our boots too. Because honestly, I mean, no offense, but that's kind of what we did with them. That's what farmers do. I mean, you mucking around. That's what muck is. Muck is shit.
Muck.
Right. Speaking of though, kind of sidebar. You said before Timberlands and all that became something. So it gets obviously cold here in the winter in Germany, like it does for you up there.
Yep.
And I was telling Jerry, I was like, I need to order like some actual boots. And I found a pair that I really loved. They're insulated and everything. They're Doc Martens, right? Ah. And I used to have a pair of Doc Martens when I was in like middle school, and then another pair when I was in high school that I know I bought for myself. And I remember them being on the pricier end, especially when you're a kid that only makes $5 an hour at your job. But I got so excited and I was like, yeah, and Doc Martens like were the best. They lasted like forever. And honestly, I don't even know where mine went. Like they probably got borrowed by somebody and just never returned is most likely what happened. Do you know how expensive those things are now?
I've never owned Doc Martens, but I know they were the thing back in the 90s.
They were. And they were, like I said, they were expensive, but not that expensive because I was able to afford them for myself on like a $5 an hour salary, right?
Yeah.
Talk about, I put them in my cart. They were try before you buy on Amazon because we have that here in Germany as well. And if I kept them, which I ended up canceling the try before you buy order, they were $240.
What?
Hipsters ruin everything. And that is my rant as a Gen X / elder millennial because they can't decide what I am. Anyway, that is my clodhoppers rant of hipsters ruin everything. Am I old enough and do I have enough to afford $240 shoes? Most likely. Am I going to do it? Absolutely not.
Oh, you crazy.
I can't even go there. So, don't get any clodhoppers to be like the clodhopper group because hipsters ruin everything, boys and girls. The clodhoppers' feet were actually attached to the performers' feet, which I think was really cool, while their heads and hands were just the performers' hands. Puppeteers actually dressed in all black to hide themselves against the black background. So kind of the concept of what we do green screen today.
Yes.
Black on black. We do more just green screen today. The Clodhoppers also appear as a Dixieland band much, much later in episode 324, and where 3 members of our group are going to dance with Paula Abdul.
Oh, okay.
The Clodhoppers were specifically designed by Jim Henson in 1972 for a Broadway show that was never actually developed. But the first appearance of them was on a TV special with Julie Andrews of My Favorite Things in 1975, where they were called the Clunks. They do appear on stage in 1993 live in London in front of the royal family for the Royal Variety performance, though. So, pretty cool. And I throw that stuff in. Maybe it's not important, but I think it's neat that it adds to, like, this is how long it went back. This is where it came from. Because some of this stuff, like, it came from, like, a different variety show. So she performs, and she does Nobody Does It Like Me with the Clodhoppers. And she's in this, like, really cool, like, green number that I thought was really awesome. Very 70s.
Yes,
very 70s.
Yes, very
so
70s.
Cool. Nobody Doesn't Like Me is from Cy Coleman and Dorothy Fields. It's a last Broadway musical Seesaw. It's very upbeat about a woman who can't seem to do anything right, especially fall in love. And I think we've all been there. So it kind of is, it's very catchy. And in some ways, because we've all been there, like, we're like, yep. We had a Muppet guest show star. We haven't had her yet. But we will have her. Shirley Bassey will record this song. She actually recorded the song herself in 1974 on her album, also by her name, just her name. So that's pretty cool. It's not one of those just made for the Muppets songs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We do close it out, and like I said, it's kind of weird. We haven't seen much of Valerie. She does come out and close it, and Statler finally gets to meet her, and he presents her with a small African berry bush. It's the original's firstborn.
Oh, okay.
And which, I mean, I could understand how that would happen with all that growing back there. You know, it was a full-on jungle. So he does try to invite her to a steak dinner, but she's a vegetarian. So she agrees to just eat at the plant, which I feel like that could have been a funny skit where she comes back and this plant has taken over and he's like, well, I was trying to give you a plant. And she's like, that's okay. I'm vegetarian.
Yeah, it could have been. And the plant
Years
could have been
later.
like shaking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And maybe somebody else has thought of that, but I feel pretty like, hey, I'm smart. So this ends this episode, but it was actually season 1's most forward-looking episode. Pressing, blah, 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 I can't talk. So it kind of preferences the developments for next season, basically. It begins with the scripted spontaneity, like you said. This is the first time of her just arriving and asking if she can be part of it. She auditions with an elaborate stage that actually takes place backstage. We didn't mention that. She has a lot of quick costume changes. The sense that the Muppets don't know exactly what they're doing until it's supposed to happen is an important part of the show's controlled chaos aesthetic. But it's kind of only in this episode in the first season where we have major element changes like that. So it's pretty neat. Even though we have a newly rebuilt Sam the Eagle puppet, the version of Sam and Eagle from something we brought up and we haven't brought up since, the Sex and Violence, that was like his whole goal, if you remember.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So they had built a new Sam the Eagle, and he appears in the UK spot where, like we said, he looks very disgruntled. The version of Sam the Eagle from Sex and Violence is what's used for Wayne and Wanda, and that's why there's a slight difference. Because anytime Wayne and Wanda appears, Sam the Eagle appears.
Yes, he's always introducing them.
In the last episodes at the dance sketch, the Blue Frackle danced in drag with Miss Kitty, and in this episode, the Blue Frackle appears as normal, but his partner, the Green Frackle, is in drag. Both times he ends up headless. And you're right. It says exceptionally Mildred's partner is Dr. Teeth instead of George the janitor.
Yeah.
You're right. This is Statler's first time appearing backstage. He and Waldorf will later appear backstage, like much, much later in episode 517, where we get to watch them run the Muppet Show.
I don't remember that, so it'll be nice when we get there.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Something that you had commented on that I should have mentioned earlier, when you were talking about when Statler's revealing to Kermit the people that he's dated, Kermit assumes the last means Ethel Barrymore, and he means Lionel Barrymore that he's dated. Which I had to look that one up. I was like, what? Lionel Barrymore is, he was a stage actor. His sister was Ethel.
Yes.
Who is the greater, their great niece is Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
So yeah, he kind of throws that out there because that's something that's kind of always been debated and talked about. Are Statler and Waldorf a couple? Could they maybe have been, but they're not now? So I kind of think for the 70s, like you said, there's been a few things that are starting to take place that a lot of people would not.
Waldorf's actually married.
Oh, that does come up later.
He has a wife, Astoria.
That's right. It comes up later in a bit. But yeah, so he corrects him and actually says it's Lionel, which I glossed over at the time. That was a note that I got thanks to the World Wide Web there. Our three-headed monster that had made an appearance, Tom, Dick, and Harry, he actually makes his second appearance.
Yeah.
The three heads get their names, three male names, although in the last episode, none of them, it was revealed that one of them is actually a she. So even though we were calling them Tom, Dick, and Harry prior, they actually didn't get their names. And I didn't realize this because I watched all these like back to back of each other. They actually don't get their names until here.
Yeah.
And they just
Harry could be short for Harriet. So
it could be. It could be kind of tripping us up, kind of like Statler did there with his old. That was Lionel Barrymore.
Yeah.
So that does bring us to the end of this bunch of episodes, which is the end of our episode here. We hope you stuck around. We know these are long, but I was playing around with ways to like make them shorter, but I feel like it just doesn't do them justice. And sometimes we're going to rush through an episode because it's short and we didn't enjoy it. And then other times like Vincent Price and even Ben Vereen this time, we loved both of those.
Yeah.
And this one, while we didn't see much of our star Valerie, it was a longer, there was way more skits. There were a lot of skits happening.
Yeah, it was a fun one too though. I mean, and look, this is the thing. We're going to take the time to do a pod on the Muppets. Let's do it right. Let's not shortchange it. We're doing this because like all the pods that Miranda and I do, whether it's together or separate, we do subjects that we want to talk about. And, if we're going to go 2 hours on Pocahontas, we're going to go 2 hours on Pocahontas. We're going to go, 2 hours on 4 episodes of Muppet Show. That's what we're going to do. And if you're here, you love the Muppets as much as we do, or you just like us, which we really appreciate. But, the audience will find it. And you can't have too much of. I'd rather, if I'm listening to a podcast about a subject that I like and there's not a lot of podcasts on it, I don't want to be rushed through. I don't want to be sitting there going, I can't, listening to it and kind of yelling at your phone or your car like, hey, you guys didn't talk about this. You didn't talk about that. We want to make sure that we cover all the bases, all the sketches, all the little character moments because we're doing this deep dive for a reason because we want to do it. We want to talk about it. And we feel like we're not doing it justice. Like, why are we bothering if we're not going to do it? Go all in on it. So I don't worry about that, Miranda.
Sometimes I do, but then again, I have also recently decided that to all the people that tell me I'm too much, I am not too much. I am just who I am. You like me or you don't. So maybe I should also stop apologizing for the length of my podcast because I talk. Yeah. Because that's who I am. But until we bring the people my Southern jacked up voice again, tell everybody else where they can find you and what you're doing and where you're comfortable with people finding you too. That's important.
I mean, I don't really do much on the social medias. I mean, I have the Facebook and all that stuff under me. You can find me there. But, join the Place to Be group. I do have some wrestling shows that, like, most of my shows have been on hiatus, and just because it's just time and life's just gotten in the way. And I may return to them. That's Great Debate Wrestling. That is, Evolution, which is a really good but a lot of work. It's a great wrestling pod. Also, I'm touring with another one on concurrent day stuff that I'm thinking about reaching out to somebody to co-host with me. It would be a monthly show, so we'll see if that moves forward. And also here on PlayStation Pop, I have a lot of my shows which are coming back. I do a lot on Stream Lounge, and I do later drop them as pods. I'm in the middle of a Pixar rewatch series. I am up to, as of this recording, my next one will be The Incredibles. And on my MCU watch, my next one will be Shang-Chi, which is under Blockbuster Rewatch. But Blockbuster Rewind, I will talk to Scott. We're in the middle of a revamp on that. Year and Pop, we're talking about doing a little bit of a revamp as well. Just like behind the scenes revamping, really. Pop Goes to the Couch will be back once we can get all four of us on the same night available. Pop Goes to Movies will come out when things come out. I have a feeling we have some stuff we're going to want to talk about soon with Black Adam and Wakanda Forever, as well as the Avatar sequel, which I'm one of the few people actually looking forward to that.
I am too, actually.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been trying to get to see the re-release of Avatar because I didn't see it in theaters, the original, and it's out right now here in theaters, so I'm trying to get out to see it, but I haven't made it yet. But the Avatar ride at Disney kind of like got me back on the Avatar bandwagon.
They were building it when we were there, so
Miranda, when you guys come back over here, you got to get there.
Right now I want to go to Disney Paris first. No offense.
Yes.
I really want to go to Disney Paris.
Believe me, I want to go there, but I just watched a thing on a little thing that shows you all the different attractions that Tokyo Disney sees. And I'm like,
it's pretty awesome too. But Disney Paris has been on my list for a long time because Alice is predominantly she's predominantly prominent in the Paris parks. See. Yeah. Apparently there's more merch and just things like that. So I'm pretty excited. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So we got. So I also have my cartoon pod should be coming out in the next couple of months. The first episode, and a comics pod is in the works. And you're saying, wait, Andy, you're not a comics reader.
No, you always tell us. I'm not the comics guy. I don't know that much.
I'm not the comics guy, but I am going to attempt to be on a comics pod. And I'm going to kind of be the audience surrogate if you're not a comics person. So I'm going to go in as a blank slate, basically, and give my unadulterated opinion.
Then that's fine. Maybe we can bring you over to the dark side.
Yeah. It's not that I am anti-comics. I just haven't.
No, you're not.
Just haven't had this hasn't been something in my life that I've done. But look for that coming soon on this feed. I think probably mid to late November, I think, is when that could be coming out. That will be mostly shepherded, I guess, or hosted by our good friends Tim Capel and Sean Kidd, and Scott Schipple will be there. So basically, it's the Pop Goes to the Couch gang. The four of us just really love doing stuff together, and we love just being in our own little world, our own little bubble. So we look for stuff to do together, and keep an eye out just on other fun stuff coming to the feed.
Awesome. I think revamps are important. So that happens a lot, and that's because we're growing and learning as we do this. And yes, it may be 6 years, but sometimes you realize there's just time to kind of like start afresh, and you don't want to quit the podcast you're doing. So because of that, I also have some projects that I have done in the past, but had taken a long hiatus from for various reasons that will also be coming back. You should be hearing Telly and T again soon, but I think we're going to revamp, and you'll be hearing us soon, but not as often. I don't think we're going to be a monthly. I think we're going to be a special. You guys know we like to cover British Bake Off and Taskmaster and things like that. So I think Ben and I are just going to bring you special things as they occur throughout the year. I'm hoping to bring back Lady in the Beard, which was done with my friend Kelly. Of course, I've recently brought Bells with Books with my friend Bianca to the team. We still have the Disney pod that Andy and I bring up a lot because we love doing that one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on for everyone. There's literally something for everyone. Please join the Facebook group. That's where we kind of post here's the link to this week's, this came out, or this is happening, or sometimes we're even just looking for guests, and that's the way to find out if we're looking for someone.
Or reach out to us if you want to be on a pod. There are some pods we don't do guests on, like the Disney pod, this pod. These are, but Pop Goes the Movies. We'll look for guests.
Right.
And I know Making Mount Rushmore, which is with Steve hosts, which I used to host. Is always looking for that's a good intro pod for people that have never really done podcasts before.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really because it's not a lot of pressure, and not like there's pressure when you do a podcast, but you don't have to talk as much, and you get to, you're on there with a few other people, and you get to kind of blend in, I guess, and not feel. It's an easy way in to podcasting. But like Laughing Theater, I always look for people, and Blockbuster Rewatch, the Pixar Rewatch. There are all kinds of things. Also, though, if you don't join the Facebook group, like the Facebook page for Place to Be Nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's a good way to know when the pods and everything else come out.
We do have the Facebook page. I should have said that earlier when I said we kind of have the group to do a compiled social media. What I meant by that is like a lot of us don't have individual Facebook pages anymore for like we don't have one for just the Muppet Show. We did have an Instagram for just Telly and T. It just gets to be a whole lot when you're one person operating like 5 Instagram pages, 3 Twitters, 2 this, 2 that. It gets to be very time consuming and does become a job. And it's hard, in full transparency, it's hard when you do also have a full-time job. And for me, I homeschool my child. So it becomes hard. So that's why we have the group. But yes, we also have the Facebook page that you can just to find out about things if you really don't want to be a part of the group. Some people are anti-Facebook group, and I can understand that, and I get that. I am trying to organically build a following on TikTok. I am comfortable with people following me over there at Mom's a Nerd. My Instagram is open for that reason as well. I'm pretty private I am in the Facebook group, and I do talk. But as far as friending me on Facebook, no offense, but I'm kind of uncomfortable with that. That's my private space. So don't get offended if you send me a friend's request and don't accept it, because I've randomly noticed that I've just been getting a lot of friends requests lately from actual people. Not bots or fake profiles, and I don't know them and I don't accept them. So if anybody's oh, I don't accept them on Facebook. I'm sorry. It's just, and that's why I always ask, if you've ever listened to my podcast, I will ask my co-host, where do you feel comfortable with people finding you? I feel like that's very important that we're all comfortable here, right? Yeah. We're all friends, but we're all comfortable. So be on the lookout for all of the new things coming from all the various entities that are part of our podcast feed and the other podcast feeds that we create, that we consider family feeds. Yep. Be on the lookout for revamps of things that you maybe loved before. I actually got really positive feedback about Telly and T, so we're kind of excited to be redoing that. I don't know when that'll happen, but it is something that we are actively working on. There's just a lot. We are in the middle of the 31 days of Halloween, PTB Halloween. Please follow along with that. There will be a Christmas one as well. And if I can make it happen, I'm going to be doing a couple of things on Stream Lounge that go in conjunction with Days of Halloween. It just wasn't possible for me to do all 31. So I know of absolutely 1, possibly 3 in total that I will be trying to pull off for you guys this month. But while you're doing that, always come back to hear the Muppet Pod and just enjoy the hilarity that ensues, even if you go out with a bang.
Well, guys, it's just the 3 of us for a weekend in the swamp. Oh, no!